So welcome everybody. We will now begin the pre-event of the 2023 Interfaith Coalition Conference for Global Citizens. And the first pre-event is titled Interfaith Dialogue. And we will start by watching a short video.
Due to the COVID-19 pandemic, mental civilization of humanity has been subjected to difficult and harsh tests. The coronavirus has discouraged the activities of global citizens who have longed for world peace. And the COVID-19 has destroyed the hopeful future of mankind which has been achieved through dialogue and cooperation. Now, humans are barely escaped from the fear of the COVID-19 virus. But the global citizens who have lost the value of solidarity and harmony are suffering from hate crimes that express global polarization and racism, religious and cultural conflicts, and the war caused by greed for resources. Due to the messy development and the pollution from economic wars, the Earth's ecosystem is entering an era of terrible extinction. Weak creatures and poor neighbors suffer first because of increasing natural disasters and climate change. And this extreme climate crisis is making today's civilization unsustainable. In this post-COVID era, we face the turbulent international situation which is becoming more fragmented amid. How can religions overcome such crisis? How can humanity restore the solidarity and cooperation of the citizens of the world? And how can we recover the essence of religion that can give grace to each other? Let's open the prelude for a spiritual awakening that will pioneer a new future. At the Interfaith Coalition Conference for Global Citizens 2023.
Great pleasure to introduce our moderator and our panelists. I'd like to invite our moderator and panelists to come to the stage, please. We have Dr. Mark Uno, Mr. Montien Tanatart, Reverend Kyochi Sugino, and Dr. Roberto Catala. Dr. Mark Uno is the president of the Society for Buddhist Christian Studies, and he's graciously taken on the role of chairperson for this session. So Dr. Uno, I pass it on to you. Thank you.
Welcome, everyone. Since this is the first pre-session, I would just like to give a great word of thanks to the Won Buddhist Organization, which is serving as an amazing host for this wonderful conference managed by the Iccgc and the sponsorship of the Ministry of Culture, Sports, and Tourism of Iksan City and the United Religions Foundation. The way that we will proceed will be to have each of our speakers speak for roughly 10 minutes. Then our speakers will respond to each other, and then we will open up to question and answer and comments from the audience. So I will give very simply a brief, much global conflict, thinking about what is happening in places like Myanmar, Ukraine, the Middle East, and elsewhere. In terms of a sustainable Earth, it appears we may be close to or past the tipping point of climate change and global warming. It seems that each of you and each of us has important roles to play in such a world of great need. What is the role of interfaith, interreligious dialogue in a world today? So first, we will have Mr. Montien Tanatart make his presentation.
most venerable reverends, and all the friends in Dhamma, and ladies and gentlemen. First of all, Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Or in the other hand, I will say Namo Amita Buddha. Namo, yeah, that's how we praise my Lord Buddhas. First of all, according to what Dr. Anu is addressing, that we are having this session because of we have some crisis happen in the world, and we believe that our interfaith dialogues, can help. And this, I will start on the Buddhism's side, that we talk a lot, really concerning this matter is about what is loving kindness and compassion. Loving kindness, on the other hand, we call, maybe some of you may familiar with this word, with metta. Yeah. And this compassion is karuna. What is the difference between metta and karuna? Metta is something like we want others to be happy. But karuna is like when we see someone having suffering, and we want them to be relieved from the sufferings. So, and this is one of the main Buddha teaching, which I believe that if we have this heart and thinking of these two important Buddha teaching in our hearts, that's will solve the first problem that we are talking about, the war that happened in many parts of the world. And if we have compassion and if we have a loving kindness, we just want others to be happier, or to be out of suffering. And what we can do on this is maybe I know that the problem that we have nowadays is not a problem that is not really what we can do much on interfaith dialogues alone, because it's all involving with the leaders of many countries. But what we can do as the organizations have some dialogue is maybe we can send some message for them, and with the compassion and with the loving kindness that we have, to make a positive way, rather than pushing very hard because of some of the political issue. It cannot be easily solved by very strong and a negative message. And what I'm thinking is that maybe we can use the many spokesmen or our Buddhist leaders, or the leaders, religion leaders all over the world, in order to say some word, which many leaders did, and we can do some dialogue together in order to make such a kind of statement, and let them realize. Maybe the other way is to use some very famous artists, and which can make some impact to the world, in order to make many people awareness on this, in order to reduce the feeling of the hatred or the hate that happened, and people, killing each other, and this kind of thing is against, I think, all religions' teachings. And as the interfaith dialogue, we think that we should send some message for them in the very constructive way. Yeah. So what our Buddha taught is the interconnectedness and interdependence and impermanence, and that is what we can apply to the situations. Regarding the global warming, this is another big issue that we can apply this to, because when we love ourselves and we love others, and we have this compassion and loving kindness, and when we're talking about everything is interconnected by itself, yeah, and our actions, we have the reflections to everything around. When we do, when we are more selfish, and we do a lot of the harm to the nature, Mother Nature, it will come back to us. It's like what we call karma. What you do, and you get the result of what you did. And this is the message that we should let them having to learn about what they shouldn't be done in order to make this world cooler. And I think many activities have been done. It's a part of one of important issue in SDG, and we keep on talking about this. But in order to make it into actions, I think interfaith dialogue can help in order to make such a message too. In order to when you love, other people, you love yourself, and why don't we share and we help? As we see that many countries, very keen on campaign to make the better world today, but there's still many countries which still ignore about this. And what we can do is that sending some messages, doing some activity, seminar and whatever, in order to making them an awareness. And I can see many countries still don't care about the waste that we have, and don't care about what we have done to the Mother Nature. They still cut the tree in order to make them richer and richer, and the carbon footprint problem and other kind of problem. If we have only same principle that we apply, for others, and like a compassion, loving kindness, so it's going to be the same thing that we should send them a message like this. And I remember many years ago that when I was still very young, and they have a fundraisings for the kids in the Africa, that all the artists come together and making a very high impact, to save Africa, and many people starving and die because of the hunger, and that is very high impact. And we can see that we don't have that kind of activities, many activities, and even also this is a global issue, and many major countries who make damage to the world, to the Mother Nature, they still keep doing that, which is what we can do, from our side is what I think is the same way as we do for the war that we have, is to sending the message for them and making some impact. And yes, okay, and the impact that we make is going to come from the very famous or influential people, which I believe that now one thing is very, very popular amongst the people in the world, particularly the youngster or the young generation, which is the artists. Like in Korea, you have the very famous bands, like famous K-pop, like Blackpink. If we can have some of them, or to be ambassador to sending this message on the war side, on the global warming, I think that would be a very special dialogue that is sending them, and let the people being aware, and maybe because that is the kind of actually they are the kind of leaders to make the people follow And you can see anything there. For example, like any product that they use or they show on their Instagram or Facebook, people will follow. And if they keep saying, the same things that we kind of dialogue that we already want to send them to the world, and that will make a big change, I believe. Yeah, that is what for the interfaith that we think that according to Buddha teachings, I think we have many common belief with the other religions in order to make world better. Yeah, and this kind of issue and the problem that we have just can be solved, and with all of us united and making some impact rather than just having an interfaith and dialogue, and we don't take bigger action. I think actions speak louder than words. Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Mr. Montin Tananar. And next, we will have Reverend Kyoichi Sugino.
Good afternoon. I'm so happy to see many of my friends from Korea and internationally. And let me first appreciate Won Buddhism. Won Buddhism has been Rishoko Sekai, my Buddhist community's long-term friend, and also Gakurin Seminary, in which I'm leading, is a good friend and partner of Won Buddhism's initiative in educating and nurturing the minds of younger generation. Here in this room, we see many young people from Korea, and you have the future and the hope for the world. And I have my own students watching from Japan, Gakurin seminarians watching this international event in Japan, listening to great wisdom of wonderful colleagues, international interfaith leaders, and engaged Buddhist practitioners. Let me share with you one great story. When we do interfaith work, sometimes dramatic thing happens. And it was some time ago. I'm getting older, so my story is old story, classic story, but it was a cooperation between Japanese and Korean religious leaders in hosting Iraqi religious leaders, Sunni and Shia Muslims and Christians all together. And Dr. Sang-gon Kim, Tae-sung Kim, and others, Professor Byun and others were part of this initiative. And what happened was when Sunni Shia Christian leaders in Iraq were struggling the post-war reconstruction, they discussed, people from different faiths, different religions, they discussed, and they disagree with everything else. But one thing they agreed on was helping war-injured children. So religious leaders in Korea, diverse faith communities, invited Iraqi medical doctors and also religious leaders from Iraq and children injured by the war. And Korea International Cooperation Agency, KOICA, funded that the training of medical doctors and helping war-injured children here in Korea. So in this story, there are very, very important messages. One is religious leaders across countries and cultures collaborating together, partnered in concrete challenge and care for children affected by war. So that's one thing. Engaging spirituality, love, compassion, care for children in this important project. Secondly, there has been the permanent mechanism, sustainable mechanism of interfaith dialogue and cooperation here in Korea and in Japan and other places. So when you try to continue dialogue and action, you need to build sustainable mechanisms. Here in Korea, there is Korean Conference of Religions of Peace, KCRP. In Japan, Religions of Peace Japan. So such mechanism of collaboration is helping religious communities working together, as previous speaker said, not only dialogue, concrete action together. So in order to do the action, you need the mechanism, sustainable mechanism, and creating habit of collaboration during the wartime, conflict, situation in conflict, and also in times of peace. So that's critical, creating sustainable interface mechanism. Let me mention another important things. When you dialogue with each other, the Pope Francis Catholic Church invited U.S. Buddhist delegation to the Vatican. And if you look at Laudato Si, papal encyclical on the environment, you find many references to interconnectedness, inner peace, and enlightened simplicity, which here in this room, there are many Buddhist friends, and you find the sympathy for solidarity in those terms: inner peace, interconnectedness, and enlightened spirituality. So those were in the papal encyclical. This is the result of long assiduous process of interfaith dialogue, global interfaith dialogue, and interfaith discussions between Christians and Buddhists. In fact, when Father Leo and I and some other participants joined Pope Francis in 2015, around this encyclical, my fellow panelist, Dr. Roberto, was interpreting Pope Francis. But this kind of interfaith dialogue has evolved into such concreteness. Even papal encyclical include global multi-religious consensus and sometimes the good findings and discoveries from Buddhist-Christian dialogue. And I end my remarks with another important term, bilingualism. When we do religious engagement and interreligious collaboration, we have to think about bilingualism. Our primary language is religious language. Our secondary language is a public language. So sometimes we use our own language, respective religious communities' language, but we have to work together around using public language. And it's happening, bilingualism is seen in different settings. For instance, when religious leaders go into conflict, mediation, conflict negotiation, track one process is governmental process, but track two process is multi-religious, sometimes civil society initiatives. And these days, from my own 23-year experience with Religions of Peace, that between track one and track two, there is track 1.5. The government, legal and political considerations, diplomatic considerations have to be supported by track two, multi-religious diplomacy. So those things are also the expression of bilingualism. We have to speak the language of our own religions and also public language. And we have to work together. In this conference, already the Korean government, through the Ministry of Culture, is supporting this initiative. So that kind of governmental and civil society, and particularly multi-religious efforts, have to go hand in hand. That's bilingualism. And I said it's 2 minutes. So I will, since my students are also listening in Japan, let me share my own seminary. It's called Gakuin Seminary, and it's a global training center for engaged Buddhism and interfaith action. So although it's a Buddhist-inspired religious institution, we try our best to learn from other traditions, a rich wisdom from different faiths, and we have to put them into concrete practice. So the holistic and integral human development and education are needed. My friend, Professor Matsui, brought her students from Japan to witness this meeting. This experience, young people here in this room from Korea, this experience, people from different faiths working together, people from the governmental sector, from the religious sector, different sectors working together for peace. And we are not just talking about peace and feeling good about getting together. We are trying to put our teaching, values and virtues of peace, love, compassion, all those things in the concrete action in our life. So that image and that experience is critically important for younger generation to taste. And our seminary, although it's a humble initiative, we try our best to educate younger generation as to become the agent of peace, instrument of peace, with rich wisdom and wisdom from different faith traditions of the world. So thank you so much.
And next, we will have Dr. Robert Catalano.
Well, good afternoon to everyone. Thank you once again, as my predecessors have already mentioned, to the organizers of this wonderful convention. Really congratulations, because it's very timely, extremely well organized. We all felt very much welcome. So thanks to you and all the Korean people in a special way. Now, regarding the question which has been put up to us, I would like to widen a little bit the horizon and start with a quotation from a religious leader. I speak from a Western European viewpoint perspective, and also as a Catholic. And I would like to put things in context by quoting a sentence from Pope Francis. He has been already mentioned, the present Catholic Pope in Rome. He said several times, what we are experiencing today is not simply an epoch of changes, but an epochal change. And this is not only true for the West, it's not only true for Christianity, it is true for all religions. I think that also in Korea, in our countries, we experience the same, though in different ways. Now, as Westerners, as Europeans, we thought not later than 50 years ago that religion, and probably also religions, were at the end of their lives. For 250, 300 years, Europeans divided religion from science, a religion from politics. The world made religion in the West a mere personal, private business. It was not something to be professed in public. Several scholars had foreseen that by this time, religion would be out of the scene. Surprisingly, a scholar who foresaw this just a few years ago said that religion, or better, religions, had never been as alive as they are today. And this conference is a proof to this. But which kind of religions are coming back to the fore? And this not only in Europe, not only in the West, not only in Christian setups, but also in the East, in different parts of the world. Probably they are no longer the institutionalized religions that we knew before. The people need God, need the absolute, need spirituality. It is exactly a quest for spirituality that is coming back to the scene. And mind you, it's no longer a private sphere of life. It is a public sphere of life. So a bit all over the world, within all different religions, we are witnessing the return of the sacred, but in the form of spirituality. There are many ways to define spirituality. I like to define spirituality as a desire to read the respective scriptures, holy scriptures, to meditate upon them, but especially to try to live them, and subsequently to share the life and the experience of the scriptures among ourselves. So a narrative of religions in daily living. It is exactly in conjunction with this phenomenon that we noticed that also these streams of spirituality met with each other and increased, magnified, promoted interfaith dialogue. Because interfaith dialogue is not a dialogue among religions. It's a dialogue between men and women, between human beings who believe in different religions. Religions will never dialogue among themselves. Are the human beings that we are given the possibility of dialoguing. And in the Catholic world where I belong, immediately a big question came out, but interreligious dialogue aiming at what? What is the goal? And a great pope who preceded the present Pope Francis, Pope Paul VI, already in the 60s, spoke about the necessity that men and women in the world meet together, dialogue with their own faiths in order to achieve peace. So peace is the real end, the real goal, the real aim of an interfaith dialogue. Interfaith dialogue cannot be only academic, cannot be only intellectual. It has to be concrete, as it has been already said very well by my colleague, Mr. Sugino. So interfaith dialogue has to take place every day. I cannot hope in peace in Ukraine, in Russia, in Myanmar, unless I live peace with the people next to me. This is also what spirituality prompts religions to work for interfaith dialogue. But interfaith dialogue promotes also human rights. And I give you a very simple example on how religious leaders can give a witness of interreligious dialogue promoting human rights. We all know very well that today's society is characterized by massive migrations. Migrations are not taking place only today. They've taken place throughout humanity. But today, there are major problems with migrations, especially in Europe, in the Mediterranean Sea. We see people dying. From the beginning of the year, around 2,000 people have died in this big cemetery which the Mediterranean Sea has become around Italy. So a couple of years ago, Pope Francis invited other religious leaders, in practice the Patriarch of Constantinople and also the Archbishop of Athens, to visit together some of these migrants in one of these refugee camps where the living conditions are simply subhuman. Now, was a sign, it was an image, but an image which sent across a very clear message that if we are people of faith, we cannot avoid living for the people who are coming to our place, people who are migrating to our own country. So religions can be also vehicles for human rights. And regarding the question that it was asked before, the relationship that interfaith dialogue may have with the environment and the role that it can play for the environment, it's enough to think that each of our religions speak of nature. Lord Buddha was inspired, was enlightened under a Bodhi tree. Jesus spoke of the major of his parables referring to nature or examples taken from nature. And every religion can speak of something very important, crucial, which is very much connected to nature. In Hinduism, for instance, you cannot distinguish the cosmos, the absolute, the reality from whatever is an expression of the cosmos, and we are all human beings and all creatures. So the commitment to keep this all alive comes also from men and women who have a faith. And it is exactly in collaborating with each other that we can go back to our scriptures, realize how important is the role of nature in our own faiths, and therefore to preserve whatever we can and to do whatever we can in order to preserve and to make sure that the environment is saved. And I would like to conclude with a final point in which with all our religions can be very much instrumental in building dialogue today. We're all aware, especially the younger generation, that today we are heading towards artificial intelligence. It is a great chance, like all the great chances that we had in the last century, which changed our society and human history in a decisive, dramatic, crucial way. But it can be also a great danger. Imagine, as people of faith, if tomorrow we go to a temple and the abbot of the temple will deliver a speech not prepared by him, but by a robot, by a computer. Or we go for confession, we Christians, and the one here in a confession is not a priest, but is a computer. And he gives us a few thoughts to think about from the computer's mind, not from his mind. So religious people nowadays are working together in order to make an official oath, an official commitment to work together so that artificial intelligence can be a service to humanity and not a danger for humanity.
A very big thanks to our three wonderful presenters, and we are going to have each of them speak for 2 minutes each in anything that they would like to respond to in relation to the other speakers. But before they do so, I'm just going to give just a couple of notes, highlights from our three presenters. Here is some of what I picked up from their great presentations. This gathering is a wonderful gathering. It is a gathering where we have a space of peace, of calm, of compassion and love. In times of peace like this, interfaith friendship and mutual understanding can be developed so that when there is conflict, when there is difficulty around the world, we have already built bridges of friendship and understanding. Then we can move much more easily into helpful action. We can already see the work that has been done in our institutions, those of us who are teachers, that we can help to build this understanding with our colleagues, with our students, and how interfaith work is so beneficial for so many reasons. And we can see the concrete result of this, for example, in the way that some Buddhist ideas have been reflected in the papal encyclicals, and how Buddhists and Christians and others have learned from one another's faiths. Lastly, belief in our young people. Our time will have passed very quickly, and long after we are gone, it will be the young people, you who are in the audience, who will take up the torch to build a better world for yourselves and for others. And we have great belief in the inspirational power that our young people bring. Thank you very much. So 2 minutes each, and you can give your remarks where you are sitting. Thank you so much.
Yeah, in conclusions, I think that what we have said is the interfaith dialogues among different religions and many people. We make some movements in order to just making the impact. Is we have to do more, and maybe we can collaborate more among. And I think we still have many more people. We should have many people from different religions, to talk about the same things, and this dialogue will spread over and making an impact to the world. And if all the religion leaders gonna talk about the same thing, and that's really impact to this world, I believe that there will make some change. Yeah. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Let me make 2 points. I'm following moderator's wonderful summary. And one thing is when mechanism for interfaith action is built, that mechanism can address different challenges in times of peace, in times of conflict. One example is in Africa, Interreligious Council of Sierra Leone was built. So it's an interreligious mechanism, Christian and different denominations of Christian and Muslim working together. And when that interreligious mechanism was built, it was about the conflict, armed conflict at that time. But then they responded by using the same structure. They responded to Ebola crisis, and then the COVID crisis, HIV/AIDS, and the COVID. So public health issues was being addressed by interreligious mechanism. They built for conflict resolution. So that kind of, it's a dramatic example, but I wanted to share this example for our collective thinking. The second point is educating younger generation and educating ourselves. We talk about good things, values, justice, peace, compassion, but virtues, I'm increasingly realizing that the virtues are critical. Virtue is habitual orientation to values. So you represent, you embody values by repeated practice. So the virtue, you become the virtuous person by always aligning your action with those values. So repeated action is critical, and the younger generation and older generation as well, cultivating those values, the virtues is critical. Virtue as habitual orientation to values is critical for integral and holistic human education.
A thought which always comes to my mind in occasions of this kind, and came to my mind a few minutes ago, also this time, is that often people say, but what is the use of these conferences? The world will never change. Or we go out of this hall and then we have to tackle a reality which is not the same that we have found in this hall. Now, I'm always grateful. The real prevailing sentiment in me, whenever there is a moment like this, it's always the one of gratitude for having the chance of experiencing once again the beauty, the richness of the different perspectives that dialogue offers to us. I realized that I'm a Christian from the West, speaking in a panel with two Buddhists from the East, one Theravada, the other Mahayana, and a moderator who comes from the States with Japanese origins. Now, this is a unique experience. It's not an experience that we have every day. And if we experience this in this moment, why can't we experience this when we go out from this hall practically with the people we encounter, the people we live with? So my reaction is always the one of thanking my colleagues for their contribution, because they have given something to me, but also to get the encouragement to go ahead in the pathway of dialogue.
And now we would like to welcome questions and comments from the audience. And if someone can take the microphone and either pass the microphone or have them come up and speak at a microphone, that would be wonderful. And please say your name and then offer the question or comment that you have. And please be as brief as possible so that we can have as many comments from the audience as possible. Thank you. You could raise your hand.
Hello. Hi, thank you everyone for such an amazing speech. I was especially intrigued by Dr. Catalano's idea that the rise of spirituality. Oh, I forgot to introduce myself. My name is Singdong Lee. I'm a junior studying Won Buddhist Studies at Wonkang University. And to go back to the question, I was really intrigued by Dr. Catalano's point that there is the rise of spirituality in the place of institutionalized religion. And I think it's something that we can all agree on, and we sort of take notice, but hasn't become widespread dialogue yet. And I'm so happy that you brought it up in this situation. And I wanted to ask, as an aspiring minister for Won Buddhism, what would be the role of the clergy in the new era of spirituality in the place of institutionalized religion? Thank you.
Thank you for the wonderful practical question. Very interesting. Now, this phenomenon of rising spirituality or spiritualities doesn't mean that official religions disappear. What is interesting is that this quest for spirituality is meant in order to make institutionalized religions more meaningful and more updated to the needs of the men and women living in today's society. So my answer is very quick and very short. Let's try to go back to our own holy scriptures. See what is the message, the core message that they give us. Meditate upon it, but then go out and try to live it and share it with the others. We are credible if we preach about interfaith dialogue, if we are also imitable, if the people see in us that we are trying to implement what we say. So in a way, more than masters, we have to be witnesses and to witness what the scriptures of our own religion says. And in doing this, we meet with other people. It's like the rays of the sun. They're different one from the other. But the more they go towards the sun, the closer they come to each other. So the same, the more we live our scriptures, the more we recognize each other, though our scriptures are different.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you so much for your brief sharing. My name is Ingun Kang, Jesuit priest working in Cambodia, and also consultant for Pontifical Council, Dicastery for Interreligious Dialogue in Vatican. I was very impressed by all your sharing, which is shared with my research and my work in interreligious dialogue. I have a question to Ms. Dr. Reverend Kyoisho. My name is correct, Kyoichi, right? You are emphasizing about the virtuous approach to this all interreligious effort and collaboration for peace and justice and environmental issues. Very interesting and very, I agree with you that the virtuous approach, especially future generation, young generation, need this kind of integral education to repeat habitual practice for all these values and also all these issues. But as we all know, the education environment and also education system, also the religious environment in our own experience, very far from that. And also in the age of AI, the artificial intellectual age, how can we really help them or to introduce them to this approach more practically? Do you have any more suggestions for practical aspect? Yeah, I want to hear more. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much for the question. The virtue oriented approach that I will repeat, that value-based, value-inspired activities, we do take action. So human rights, environmental campaign, and other things. But we sometimes forget about becoming a good person ourselves. So that aspect, even from educational perspectives, we have to be conscious about that. And what we are doing in our seminary is younger students learn from the nature. So we have the campus in the mountain, and students do rice cultivation, for instance, in the nature. So learning from the nature and struggling with the nature, it's not easy. Rice cultivation is not a simple thing. It's a difficult thing. But through that process, learning about the how to become a compassionate rice cultivator and producer, watching the plants and the nature, and how understanding, recognizing we are all part of the nature, and try to live the religious message, that the love, compassion, care for the earth. So I mentioned that the virtue cultivation, maybe two things. One is when we do peace-related activities or interfaith dialogue, we go beyond feel good conversations. We are happy. We share the faith. We enjoy talking about peace. But we say engaged Buddhism, that the engaged spirituality is to to do concrete action together, sometimes in the nature. Doing the rice cultivation is one example, but other things together. And taking action together and putting ourselves into the very, very difficult, hard challenges. And in Cambodia, in Battambang and other places, I can imagine there are so many situations, tough situations, and bringing younger generation into such difficult, complex situation and try to live the religious values. So that's I think key in our cultivation of virtue in younger generation's mind.
Yes, thank you. And others who might have questions or comments, and please know that you can make your comments or ask questions in English, Korean, or Japanese, because we have translators working for us. So any of these three languages, okay.
Christy Cheng from Taiwan. Thank you all panelists and our great moderator. I have actually two questions. The first one for Dr. Catalano. I very much agree with you in feeling that like such gathering, this kind of conference is a great moment of gratitude. Very often I encounter questions like, okay, what is a conference for? So I would like to hear your personal response to such question. How would you respond personally to such questions? And second one for Reverend Sugino. You mentioned about how the interfaith dialogue model was actually applied to conflict resolution, COVID, aid. Could you expand a little bit more on that? How is that expanded? Thank you.
I hope I understood well your question. I answer looking back because the question has been asked to me many times. What is the meaning of a meeting like this? Very often, if not always, I answer going back in history. 50, 60 years ago, people like all of us in this hall used to ignore each other. I remember when I studied in school, for me, the Buddhists were a name, an Italian word, but I never seen a Buddhist in my life. I remember there was a Protestant in my building, and my mother used to tell me, when you go down and you pass in front of their door, keep in mind that they are Protestants. And I was 5, 6 years old, and I said, my God, who knows how the Protestants look alike? One day, the door opened, and for a moment I was terrified. And then I realized that they were two elderly, gentle, most refined people. And within my mind of a child, I said, oh God, they are much better than all the other Catholic people of the building. So thinking, of course, when I was 5 years old, I could not reason in that way. It was not, but thinking of that incident, when I started working in interfaith dialogue, I say from that stage to a moment like today, we have covered a long way. Now, the history of humanity, it's a very, 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 very long way. So we still have a very, very long way ahead of us. But thank God we have reached up to now.
Thank you. Let me stick to my example of Sierra Leone. Right? So in the conflict situation, the conflict. And what happened was, especially women of faith, with great courage. Muslims and Christian women of faith in Sierra Leone went into the rebel territory, negotiated with the rebel leader for the release of child hostages. So that's a dramatic example, but interfaith, women from Christian and Muslim, Islamic traditions working together and saved the children. And then later, Interreligious Council of Sierra Leone, Muslims and Christians Council, they were asked by the president of the country and the rebel group leader, both of them, to serve as a mediator. And they were invited to the official governmental peace processes in Lome, Togo, and joined by United Nations and the governments. But this trust building and treating even conflicting parties with respect, that was achieved through the mediation of the religious leaders. So that's a concrete example. And that the trust and confidence they built through those working together experience served as the mechanism for COVID and Ebola. When COVID and Ebola happened, sometimes those things considered as God's punishment and so on, that the general population had rumor and suspicion and all those things happened. And the religious leaders stand up. Same people who worked for the conflict resolution stood up and worked together to eliminate and overcome those stereotyping and impossible rumor. So that kind of thing happened in Sierra Leone, very concrete. But in other countries, similar things are happening.
Yes, thank you. And as moderator, I'm just going to add a couple of comments here. So first of all, thank you so much for your question and comments, Christy Yuling Chung. And I just want the audience to know that she has had very important leadership roles in International Buddhist Confederation and in Shakyadita, International Association of Buddhist Women, for which she has served as president. And part of the reason why I'm mentioning this is Reverend Sugino just mentioned the important role and abilities of women in interreligious situations and how that can go beyond the specific situation of children to serve the entire community. So I believe that many men, as represented in this conference, have many great abilities, but oftentimes it is women who have even greater abilities in the area of love and peace and compassion. And I think that the organization of this conference reflects that, because many women have very important leadership roles in Won Buddhism and the organization of this conference. And I think as we move forward in this moment and into the future, we need to support the leadership abilities of women in our communities, as well as men and everyone in our communities. Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you so much. I am Dr. Muzaffari Muhammad Hassan, research professor at Busan University of Foreign Studies. Since I am Muslim and maybe we don't have enough voice here, so let me quote from Quran in this regard, just comment. and in the same direction that all the lecturers gave their views. In fact, in Quran it says, "O believers," that means all of us who believes in spirituality, who believe in supernatural being, or anyhow, all of us, when we don't describe him, all of us believe in him as a creator. He says, "O believer, always be with justice." When we are always observe justice, this is the duty that we have, all of the believers. Then he says, the atrocity and aggression of others should not take you away from justice. That means they should not tempt me or encourage me to go away from justice. Justice is very important. So I have to be with justice. Maybe they are not Muslims. Maybe people who are oppressed. They belong to any other religion or schools. No, I have to be with justice. So this is the one important principle that Quran says, "I'dilu," be with justice, observe justice, always, even if it is against you. "Walau ala anfusikum," even if it is against yourself and your father, your children, be with justice. This is one thing. Second, it says, "Ta'awanu 'ala al-birri wat-taqwa wa la ta'awanu 'ala al-ithmi wal-'udwan." You help rightness, good, and never support aggression and atrocity. It's very clear message. It is a teaching that all of us are believing. That means we have to always cooperate. Wherever it is proposed that there is a proposal that we have to do to solve these problems, we have to go towards solving the problems. But unfortunately, many of us, either because of the nationality or maybe identity or maybe greatness or whatever it is, they are not from religious teachings. So we have to be careful not to take a wrong way. I think it is a very commonality. All the religions are teaching this. So the role of Muslim leaders, the role of all religious leaders is to be justice. Even if it is against their own community, even if it is against their own self, that means we should observe always justice and help good and always stand with the suppressed people, with the people who are suffering. We have to just share our shoulder and help them. So I think this is the best way to solve all the problems, whether it is the natural problem or artificial problems. We have to just look after each other and be justice. Sorry if I took a lot of your time.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
저는 KCRP 종교간 대화위원회의
Hello, I'm Son Jongmyo from the
카톨릭입니다.
KCRP
말씀을
Interfaith
들으면서 이렇게 많이
Coalition. I'm
배웠는데요.
Catholic. Thank you very
특별히
much for your
로베르토
lectures. My question
박사님께
goes to Mr.
설명을
Dr.
좀 더 부탁드리고자
Roberto
합니다.
Canalano.
AI 시대에
In the age of AI,
종교와의 그런 관계
so the relationship
감사히
with
잘
the religion.
들었는데요.
So thank you very much for
그
your
AI
speech.
시대와
and your comments on AI age,
윤리적인 그런
AI
문제,
and ethics,
그거를 어떻게
ethical issues.
정교한 대화를 통해서
How we can
할
make
수
an approach
있는지,
through the
혹시 새로운
interface
방법이
dialogue. Do you
있는지
have any new
좀
idea,
더 설명을
new
해주시면
ways
감사하겠습니다.
for to make a better?
I'm not an expert in this. It's not my my subject. But I know that it's a great concern at different levels. And for instance, as for us Christian Catholics, recently the Holy See, the Vatican, issued a very interesting document which you can read on the website of the Vatican. Precisely, let's say, trying to inspire Christians, as we are Christians, to make use of artificial intelligence in a positive way, and not to be overcome by the artificial intelligence, but to make use of it. It's a very interesting thing that it's available for everyone. Of course, it's a document of the Catholic Church for the Catholics, but it's universal. It's not a faith document. It's a document of recommendation to make it more evident. Now, something that I mentioned before is that some representatives, sometimes scholars in this field of different religions, have come together because they are concerned about the consequences that this can have on humanity, in order to prepare a draft of a document to be accepted by members, leaders and members of different religions, to commit ourselves as believers to use the artificial intelligence, but always keeping the person, the human being, at the center of the interest and the goal of artificial intelligence. I think this should be the main element, the crucial element for our commitment, not to discard it because it's an opportunity, but also to keep into account that artificial intelligence should not be at the center of our concern. It is the human being that is at the center of our concern.
Thank you so much. And our session is coming to end. So I would like to conclude by having Mr. Montien Tanatart give one final comment. Please go ahead.
I think my last comment is about, I think there's still many issues that we have in the world nowadays. And what the last question is about the AI, which gonna change another, it's gonna be a big change. And we're gonna have many challenges come together. I mean, that's about to come. And we believe that one thing that can solve this is interfaith dialogues, can be very efficient tools, and at least when we gather here, and I would like to thank, for the One Buddhism that's organized the interfaith dialogue, and believe that we're gonna bring this useful information, and make it have some impact to the world. Yeah, thank you.
So a big thank you to our presenters and to those of you who provided rich questions and comments. Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you again, Dr. Uno and our esteemed panelists. Thank you for keeping us on time. So we have refreshments available outside. We're going to take a break. Come back here at 3 p.m. Okay, see you soon. So we will now begin the second pre-event of the 2023 Interfaith Coalition Conference for Global Citizenship. And this time it's titled Peace Dialogue, and we'll start by watching a short video.
정치위원이 나선 반면에 종교위원 유학을 하실 수 있는 그런 기회가 되었으면 진리는 하나, 세계도 하나, 인류는 한 가지, 세상은 둘 있어 개척하자 하나의 세계.
So one of our panelists unfortunately could not be here with us today, so it's Dr. Azza Karam, but she graciously prepared a video message, so we'll take a moment to watch this video.
Assalamu alaikum, peace be upon you all. My name is Azza Karam, and I have the distinct privilege of giving a short address to the wonderful organizers of this very timely and very critical conversation, a global conversation, shaping our future together, engaged spirituality in the age of crises, and especially now to address you and all the distinguished speakers, participants, and those gathered, thanks to the warm hospitality of the One Buddhism on the theme of religion in the age of super crisis, finding a way of world peace through coexistence and co-prosperity. As a professor of religion and development, I have been privileged to be able to observe and to participate through nearly 2 decades at the United Nations and 4 precious years at Religions for Peace International, to see how the multi-religious dynamics function and deliver peace. In order for such dynamics to function, the multi-religious dynamics, and this is the theme I want to address you with, there are a number of situations which explain why the multi-religious is absolutely important. If we depart from an understanding that religions make a positive difference, that understanding takes into account also the qualification, a very critical qualification, that there are always some religious actors, not religions, but some religious actors, which can also make harm. We cannot argue for the peacefulness of multi-religious coexistence without tackling head-on the challenges presented by certain religious actors. This is not to stand in judgment of whether these religious actors believe that they are right, believe inspired by their religion or not. This is not to stand in judgment of anyone, but it is simply to acknowledge that in the name of religion, many good things happen and some very harmful things happen. This is an important qualifier, not only for our consideration of the role of religions in creating and in being conducive to the realization of peaceful societies, but it is a pointer, a bookmark in our understanding of why the multi-religious can then become very important. So, qualifier number 1 in terms of context is that we need to understand and be realistic and pragmatic about the fact that some religious actors can be the causes of harm. Discord, disunity, violence, conflict, radicalization, extremism, etc. The second important qualifier is it's not every religion and any religion that is a source of peaceful coexistence by its very nature. In fact, it is important to understand, again, that it is when religions come together and form the ability for the realization of a common ground that we can possibly find the doctrines of peaceful coexistence. Let me repeat that. It's when religions come together on deeply held, widely shared issues that is the common ground. That is the doctrine, multi-religious doctrine of peaceful coexistence. The third prerequisite for the reality of a multi-religious peaceful coexistence is that that common ground cannot just be the usual, well, all people are poor, we are suffering inequalities, the climate is getting destroyed, war is rampant. It can certainly include those realizations, but the common ground between religions, that is the doctrine of peaceful coexistence, needs to be the entirety of the human rights agenda. Human rights for all the time, excluding none. That consensus on human rights for human rights has to be the doctrine that will proscribe and enable peaceful coexistence. Peaceful coexistence cannot come when some religions advocate for some rights and other religions advocate for other rights, and some religions don't care about rights, and some religions actively struggle against human rights. That does not create the common ground for peaceful coexistence, as multiple examples around us illustrate. Therefore, the common ground needs to be not just an agreement on the basics that are obvious to all of us, but it has to be that same common ground that enabled the Universal Declaration of Human Rights in the first place. The Universal Declaration of Human Rights was made possible not because a few governments came together to sign it, but because a number of the world's leading scholars, intellectuals, politicians, civil rights activists, civil society members, all came together over many years to see what was held in common, what the common values to all humankind were. And they used the religious values that are in common, and that made the Universal Declaration of Human Rights possible. In other words, here we are in 2023, re-acknowledging the reality that some of us prefer to overlook and others think they can rise above, the reality that we would not have had human rights today if we had not had our religions yesterday, today, and tomorrow, but if we had not had that which is the common ground between all values of all faiths, the common ground of all religious values is human rights. Multi-religious collaboration for peace means having to deal together with the issues on which we do not agree, means having to struggle together precisely because there are some things we do not agree to. If we only decide to work on that which we agree, the low-hanging fruit, the common ground, what about all the other issues that are causing polarization, extremism, and harm? What good is it if we can form a club of like-minded together and ignore the rest of the world? Do we not simply marginalize more and further? All faiths impose upon us the necessity to believe, not because we always agree, not because we can see what is obvious, but because we don't always agree, because there is discord, because there is tension, because there is radical, fundamental differences. Therefore, we see the divine not only in that which we hold to be like one another, but we see the divine in that which potentially tears us apart and therefore compels us to find that which will bring us together. In this world of penultimate polarization, the era of crisis, as the conference organizers so wisely termed it, in this era of crisis, our reaction of multi-religious peace building has to be the out of the ordinary, the unusual, the challenging, and the difficult. That is where we do not agree, and yet we must find an ability to work together for the rights of all. It is when we have that courage to come together and handle our disagreements civilly because we see the divine in he or she who is so against what we believe in. It is when we have that courage that we actually see and behold the divine. And it is when we behold the divine that we ultimately serve that purpose, because the divine is peace. To marginalize, to silence, to oppress, and to subordinate, to lie about one another, that is harm. And people of faith shouldn't be in that business. We need to be in the space where the divine compels us to be courageous. And that means to handle our differences with love, with decency, with civility. That is how we can achieve peaceful coexistence. Once again, I wish to thank the organizers, Won Buddhists, and all the co-sponsors, so many who have come together to make this conference possible. I wish you the peace of the divine to always be among you. I wish you always, each one of you, to be embraced by the love of the divine.
A special thanks to Dr. Karam for that passionate and powerful and timely message. And now I'd like to invite to the stage our wonderful moderator and our panelists. We have Reverend Dr. Leo Lefebvre, and we also have Reverend Toyon Park, who will be representing Dr. Karam, Reverend Dr. Yoshinori Shinohara, and Reverend Kim Tae-sung. So Dr. Leo Lefebvre is the co-chair of the Iccgc and the former president of the Society for Buddhist Christian Studies. He's also the Matteo Ricci Chair of Theology at Georgetown University. He'll be moderating this session, so I'll hand it over to Father Lefebvre.
I am delighted to welcome you to our discussion of religion in the age of super crisis, finding a way of world peace through coexistence and prosperity. And I'm honored to welcome our distinguished participants in the discussion, Dr. Aza Karam, whose words we've already heard, Reverend Dr. Yoshinori Shinohara, and Reverend Kim Tae-sung, and also the Reverend Toyon Park. I'd like to begin by sharing the comments that set up the organization of this session to understand the concerns that the speakers were asked to address. The world has stopped. The world is changing dramatically. The time of the world seems to return to world wars, and the global challenges that threaten humanity are menacing us day by day. We can all survive this super crisis. All of us, in one way or another, must solve the accumulated global problems and participate in constructing a new world. Religion has long played an essential role in solving global issues, but today, the role of religion is being questioned. To bring world peace, now is the time for religious leaders to share their wisdom and act together. I'd like to say just a little bit about the background of Dr. Aza Karam, because I think it's important for you to have a little bit of the context of her remarkable service to appreciate the force of her message. Dr. Aza Karam served until very recently as the Secretary General of Religions for Peace. She was the first Muslim and also the first woman to serve in this role, succeeding William Vendley. She has been a leader in concern for the equitable international distribution of health resources and in promoting theologies of compassion. She was a signatory of the Manresa 2022 Pact, which called for climate improvement measures in cities across the globe. So we're very honored to have her message delivered to us. Our first speaker, the Reverend Dr. Yoshinori Shinohara, serves as the Secretary General of the Asian Conference of Religions for Peace and the Secretary General of Religions for Peace, Japan. He is a graduate of Gakurin Seminary in Tokyo, and he received one master's degree in conflict resolution from the University of Bradford and another master's degree in public policy from the University of Tohoku. He received a PhD in human security studies from the University of Tokyo. He is an ordained Dharma teacher in Risho Kosakai. And so we're pleased to welcome him.
Thank you very much, moderator. So good evening, not good afternoon, sorry. So thank you very much for the opportunity to speak out this wonderful conference. I prepare for the script. So I came from Tokyo, Japan. So it is August today, now. So August is the month in which the World War II ended. It is a very important time to think about the issues of the war and peace. In Japan, various memorial services are held to commemorate the victims of the war. On August 6th and 9, a lot of memorial services for the victims of the atomic bombs were held in Hiroshima and Nagasaki. On August 15th, the last day of the war, the Japanese government and many groups, including religious organizations, hold a memorial service to sincerely reflect on Japan's responsibility for the war that caused tremendous damage, suffering to the people of Asia, and to both the never to repeat such mistakes. In particular, the memorial services for the victims of war organized by the Federation of New Religious Organizations of Japan on 14th of August is deeply meaningful, jointly held by various religious groups. So this year marks the 58th year that more than 60 religious organizations have gathered at the National Cemetery for war dead in Tokyo to offer their sincere condolence to the victims of all wars and pledge a spirit of absolute non-war. So I attend these memorial services every year in order to reaffirm my heart in absolute non-war. So this conviction has always been strong in my heart as I carried out the duties of Secretary General of ACRP. ACRP is a regional organization of religions of peace in Asia, founded 47 years ago. ACRP is currently a network of 22 countries, which participations from various religious leaders. 2 years ago, at my inauguration as a Secretary General of ACRP, I expressed my determination that in building peace in Asia, I would never forget that Japan brought much suffering to the people of Asia through war. I believe this spirit of repentance and remorse is essential for those who will be responsible for building peace in the future. It is the determined of our predecessors who established the Religions for Peace 53 years ago. The following passage from the founding declaration reads, as men and women of religions, we confess in humility and penance that we have very often betrayed our religious ideals and our commitment to peace. It is not the religion that failed to the cause of peace, but religious people. This betrayal of religion can and must be corrected. This is a statement, repentance and remorse that religious people failed to prevent and stop World War II, in which tens of millions of people died. This contrition is the primary reasons for the creation of religions of peace. Today, I would like to introduce first experience of encounter the international interfaith dialogue. So it was my experience of youth exchange program at the Korean Conference, Religions of Peace, KCRP, and Religions of Peace Japan that made me aware of the need to strengthen my eye on this history of war as a real experiences. In 2005, when I was 34 years old, I visited Seoul in Korea for first time to participate in Korean-Japan Youth Exchange Program. There, young religious people from Korea and Japan would share life together and discuss various issues ranging from peace issue to daily life. I practically learned a lot about Japan's inhumane acts in the past and had lively discussions about how to foster friendship between Korea and Japan. There is one symbolic event that I still remember. On the day of that exchange program in Seoul, I was riding in a cab with KCRP staff members. After a while, the cab driver and KCRP staff started a small argument. Since it was spoke in Korean, I couldn't not understand it. But later, the staff told me that the driver complained a bit about why he had picked up a Japanese person. The staff member then countered that since he is my friend, what was the problem? So as I listened to this story, I was again reminded of the cruelty of Japan's actions during the war. At the same time, I was moved by KCRP staff who welcomed me as a friend. For the first time, I truly realized the possibility of developing a friendship with Korean. To this day, I'm still in sincere gratitude for this kind of act of that staff. So far, Korean-Japan Youth Exchange Program has been held 14 times and has continued to be held for more than 30 years. I believe that this exchange is what true religious cooperation must be, and it is the ideal model that I would like to realize in my international religious cooperation activities. So now, thanks to the passionate of our predecessors, Religions for Peace has marked 50 years anniversary. During these 50 years, the structure and activities have been enriched. In today's global society, peace activities through interfaith dialogues are not uncommon. And they are increasingly attracting attention and importance in international politics. What is the mission and the role of religions of peace in the future? To examine this question, on the occasion of the 50th anniversary of Religions of Peace, I and Religions of Peace Japan organized a special committee with youth religious leaders of Religions of Peace Japan to discuss the strategic plan for the year 2030. So this agenda 2030 began by imagining the world in 2030s. The United Nations estimates the world population will continue to grow, adding about 85 million people each year, reaching 8.5 billion by 2030s. Demand for the essential resources such as water, energy, and food is projected to increase by more than 40%. by 2030s. And there is a mortal concern about the imminence of the crucial resource necessary for human survival. The climate change issues is a more crisis. And what's the meaning of the possibility of the cascade of the global warming events will be high, that there will be no turn back. So on the other hand, as a previous panel mentioned, technology and such as AI, robots, computers will continue to develop expansionary and have a great impact on humanity. In the future, AI will be present in all areas of life, work, education, and medicine, ushering in a period of great change in people's lifestyle and communications, as well as in society's roots and values. While an extreme efficient and convenient society will bring future possibility, but it will be also an era in which the meaning of human existence, such as human dignity, individual autonomy, and relationship with others will be questioned even more. So while envisioning a world in 2030, so this will be the case. Religions of Peace Japan has a set forth 6 agendas on which it will place particular emphasis in the future. So I cannot mention all of them, but I would like to introduce some of them. So Agenda 1 is strengthening the global religious networks to achieve international survival goals. One of the major pillars of this Agenda 2030 is to support and contribute to the realization of our common goals, such as SDGs, the Paris Agreement on climate change, which have become the international community's last resort goals. So this is because in a world where more than 800 million people are suffering from hunger, and the survival of the human race is threatened by rapid environmental degradations, the realization of the world where no one is left behind is a goal that our predecessors have devoted themselves to since the funding of Religions of Peace. So Agenda 2, to working together with Global South to end the climate crisis. On paramount important to stopping the climate crisis is to listen to and include the voices of those in Global South who are most vulnerable. We need to look at their real suffering from global environmental blunders and find international solidarity movements from there. Religions of Peace Japan will respond to various movements for change that are developing in Global South and call on developed societies to participate in them. Agenda 3, dialogue with politics for a world without war through non-violence. Non-violence is a core principle of Religions of Peace movement. The idea of building peace by fostering a deterrent system through military means is incompatible with religious thought. Originally, the essence of theory of deterrence by military means was born out of the distrust between human beings with intimidations, threats, and suspicions towards the other side lying in the background. Such a relationship of the suspicion and mistrust in turn increase mutual hatred and raise the risk of war. This is why Religions of Peace Japan from its inception has rejected peace building through excessive military means and advanced non-violence. Okay, finally, Agenda 4, is a dialogue with the business community to eliminate extraordinary economic disparities. The world is currently experiencing the greatest increase in inequality in its history. The wealth held by about 2,000 wealthy people is greater than the combined wealth of the 4.6 billion people in poverty. The disparity between the super rich and the rest of the population has reached unimaginable proportions, and this unescalable situation cannot be overlooked by religious people. So, Religions for Peace Japan, we strongly argue cooperation with the poor and the suffering and the excluded. Agenda 5 and Agenda 6 is, I cannot introduce. So I'd like to include. So what is required in 2030's world? We need firm ideas, firm principles that bring comfort and hope to people, and action based on these ideas and principles. I believe religion can play a major role in this regard. There are many religions in the world, and they preach the doctrine of peace and offer a salvation of the people. Since its founding, Religions of Peace has sought to bring together the diverse resources of religions to achieve common actions. As we look towards the world of 2030s, we must more firmly bringing together the wisdom of our religious traditions and work together to take strong action toward a common agenda. And if the collective impact generated from this will affect various areas of the world and society, we will realize our goals of a world in which no one is left behind. Thank you very much.
Thank you very, very much. Our next speaker, the Reverend Kim Tae-sung, received his bachelor's degree from Wonkwon University and a master's degree in international studies from Chung-Ang University. He completed the PhD program in international studies at Chung-Ang University. He's ordained in the tradition of Won Buddhism and serves as the Secretary General for the Korean Conference of Religions for Peace. So welcome.
Thank you very much, Professor Leo. And also, I'm really appreciate the Won Buddhism. They prepare this wonderful conference. This section is very meaningful because the global levels and then local and the regional levels take responsibility. They are representatives that joined our session. My speech is what is role, religion, and the religionist in a time of a super crisis. I'd like to some comment about what our religious role, the COVID-19 pandemics, which was begin by early 2020s, has created disruptions in the all area of societies, culture, religions, and the politics that all of us have never experienced before. There has provide an opportunity all mankind to become aware of new problem faced in the world. In addition, this summer, the world was hit by heavy rain and have not been experienced in centuries, resulting in the loss of life, material damages, and the recording break heat wave in many countries. And the war between Russia and Ukraine began last year and still unfold with no clear end in sight. In the world where humans are destroying the ecological environment for human convenience and the desire. The countries are not hesitating to invade their neighbor for their interests. The world is facing crisis period, with survival human is uncertain, and the future peace is threatened. In the face of various crises facing human, what role the religious communities play to overcome crisis and creating peace? I think the first of role is the communication overcome conflict. In the South Korea first pandemics, and began the March of 2020 in religious organization called this Shincheonje after outbreak coronavirus impact in late 2019. At the beginning first pandemic, 7 religious leaders held the emergency meeting, declared the religious activities would be suspended, and announced that all religious facilities would be closed for 1 month, and that religious activities would be conducted online instead. These efforts were successful in various groups and the organizations in our societies, even companies, refrained from their actions. As a result, the first wave of pandemic was stopped. The second pandemic wave began at August the same year. Our religious community once again suspended religious activities. This allowed the second wave pass safely. This suspension of religions contributed great to stop COVID-19 pandemics. But stopping religious activities for the first time in history depend conflict within the religious communities. In addition, various organizations are also dissatisfied with government excessive regulations. And the dispute grow as a way of the overcome intra-religious and the social conflict in face of coronavirus. The religious community proposed the formation of a task force team for the emergency involve the government and then religious and the social organizations, which is government accepted, and the public-private consultation body called this daily life recovering committees was formed. As a representative of religious committees, I attended weekly meetings, committees to convey the opinion of religious communities, and also other social organizations representatives they join, and then they are also convey that various opinion to government. This gave us 2 opportunity to overcome social conflict caused by pandemic. Through dialogue of communication, the committee operates until end of pandemics, playing central role of communication. Lack of communication is frequently cause of humanity inabilities to achieve peace. Lack of communication between individual groups and organizations and the religious and the nations lead to conflict. And the history has witnessed countless examples of conflict. The establishment activities into religious dialogue, cooperation organizations such as like RFP International, RFP Asia, and the KCRV based on such a dialogue communications between religions. And the religions have an important role of dialogue between nation and nation, individual and groups. Second role is of mediators, reconcilers. All religions is fundamentally often the repentance. All religions teach the fundamental way to book forgiveness, leading to new life through change one's mind. The one Korean Protestant leaders, Reverend Kim Sang-eun, He has been suffering from rest of life after witness the brutal murder of his father during Korean War. When his parents was taken by North Korean soldiers, tortured to death, even though the war ended when Korean War divided. His heart moving to tears, and he suffered terrible, painful, whenever he showed the stories of North Korea on the TVs. Afterward, Reverend Kim decided to become the faster. And while learning the Bible, he cannot follow Jewish word to love his enemies. But through his deep faith, he realized true love. Later, he became representatives South Korea by inter-Korean civilian exchange, visited North Korea, where he was told that he was freed from his rejection and the painful toward the North Korean, and came to love them truly. The love of forgiveness and the mercies. All those religions are basic spirit of beginning peacemaker in conflict and the disputes. All religions teaches spiritual peacemaking. In the middle of conflict and the dispute, there are many conflicts and the disputes worldwide, including war in Ukraine. Religious people can contribute to world peace by actively fulfilling their role of mediators and reconcilers. People beyond this dispute and the conflict based on their faith. Second role of changing people's mind. The environment problem is faced becoming major problem, threatening mankind, the future, and great endangering human survival. To fundamentally understand the overcome environment issues, we need to understand fundamental causes of environment degradations. The core problem is the environment destruction is progress and development to human convenience. Humans have been destroyed natural convenient for mass productions, comfort through industrial revolutions. At the heart of a religious environment is a shift our perception of the natures. The first to recognize that the nature is not separate from us, but one with us. Buddha referred to the theory of causalities, which states all things independent and interconnected based on each others. Venerable Sudesan, founder of Buddhism, teaches that all things in universe are in a relationship of interdependence grace, and that I and all objects are just one. If we are realize that all things, nature, are not separate from us, we can realize that the distorted nature is to harm ourselves. Secondly, we need to shift our thinking from the growth-oriented life to life of self-sufficiencies, which is development of a scientific civilization. Humanity has pursued the materialistic life, seeking more positions and the convenience. We have been destroyed the ecological environment to satisfy our desire for more position. The transit from growth-oriented life of self-sufficiency is a process to search for more meaningful life, inner enrichment. It is a meaningful journey to seeking better intrinsic values, sustainable living, and inner peace. Religious people should reflect on human history to see if religious and has fulfilled its role of a peacemaker, or it is contributed the causes of pre-success of the various conflict. Unfortunately, religion has been causes many human conflict. This is because of religions lost its instincts of value of spiritualities. When it's become the secularized of power, the work, interface dialogue, and the cooperation can contribute to this reorientation of religion. It is often said that the interreligious dialogue is a mirror of oneself, which means is you can look back, reflect oneself through neighboring religions. Our interface dialogue cooperation organization aim to promote such interreligious encounters and the dialogues, and to pursue the common goods and the humanity together. Professor Oh Gang-nam said that religious and the religious should be in depth encounter and dialogue. This emphasis that interreligious dialogue should go beyond the level of simple promote mutual friendship, but should be based on mutual spiritualities, which is the goal of interreligious cooperation organizations. Such a spiritual encounter will be lead to freedom from the all religious conflict and disputes. This will be path of peace. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your remarks. Our next participant was invited on rather short notice to be part of this discussion after we learned that Dr. Azakaram was not able to be with us. And so she was not asked to provide a formal paper, but we welcome her informal participation. So I'm very pleased to welcome the Reverend Do-yeon Park, the co-chair of the Committee of Religious NGOs at the United Nations. She is a minister of the Manhattan Won Buddhist Temple and a representative of Won Buddhism to the United Nations. She also serves as the Buddhist chaplain at both Columbia University and New York University. And so I'm pleased to welcome Do-yeon.
Good afternoon, everyone. Again, thank you for kind welcoming, and I'm honored to be sitting here with honorable guest speakers here. Again, I'm Do-yeon Park. I first want to express again, passing the deep regrets from Professor Azakaram. For not being here with you all today. She really wanted to come here as much as you wanted to see her in this stage. Because I just got a text message from her a couple days ago. Again, she's sending her great regrets here. I had a privilege to working closely with Professor Azakaram since the first year I moved to New York City, which was 2008. At that time, she was working at the UN and she was doing a lot of faith-based leadership work in the UN area. So while I was looking at her video message, first, I would like to also remind you that I'm sure you all got this report. This is a whole collection of all of our presenters' speeches here. Particularly page 92, you will see Dr. Azakaram's extended message. So I hope you get a chance to see her read her whole presentation in this page. And while I was listening to her video message just now, I maybe would like to just reiterate a couple points, not just because she presented it here, but mainly because I also felt the same or deep connection to her sharings. From her a little over 10 minutes video message, what stood in my mind is that she talks a lot about common ground, the common purpose, or what was the common ground that our gathering here today is really for our common ground. That is nicely she connected to the work of human rights that we all kind of working together here. Especially in the working with a lot of NGO communities at the UN based in New York area, we talk a lot about human rights, but this human rights is not only for the human, meaning that it really includes all the environmental issues and our contribution to save and protect our Mother Earth as well. So this finding the common ground is something that we all working together, and I think we can all come together to that ground of love, compassion, kindness, and justice as well. Towards her last kind of sharing of her video message, I don't know about you, but one thing that really stuck in my mind is that she talks about multi-religious peace building. Our dialogue, our meeting is that we're dealing with the issues that we're not agree on. And she strongly made this message that we need to work on the issues, particularly on the issues that we do not agree on. And I remember for myself, questioning myself that, when we gather like this gathering, we talk about, is it really possible for us from many different backgrounds, building a peaceful coexistence? We all know that we are different, but then is it possible truly that we find the common ground? And I think for myself, I used to think that that's impossible. Like, no way. I don't think I can be a good friends with everyone in this room, I think. But then I think her point that I got today is that even if we find all the things that we do not agree with, but still we need to make an effort to find a common ground. And in a very practical sense, because I see myself, I have a lot of friends and teachers and all people in my life. And I don't really agree on everything with everyone. But still, I think I'm a pretty good relationship with many of you sitting here, unless you think otherwise. So, from our family circle, right? As a family that maybe with your parents, with your siblings, we always kind of fight over some stupid things with the different ideas, different understandings, but still, because we find this common ground as a family members, as a community together, we are able to find that ground. We may have different expressions for that, but still, I think we need to remember that aspect of how we can come up with our ability to cultivate this ability to find the common ground for not only for our particular community, but for all, not only for the human community. Again, in the Buddhist context, we say it's all sentient beings. So for the all sentient beings, how we can find our common ground, that is the one thing, something that I think for most of us, we can think about it. I don't really have the right clear answer for everyone here, but still our life is this journey to find that answers for ourselves. So that was something I took from Professor Karam's video. And again, I'm very honored to be in this panel. Thank you.
Thank you very, very much. So I'd like to thank each of our speakers. From Yoshinori Shinohara, we learned about the determination for peace in Asia requiring repentance and remorse. And as a citizen of the United States, I just like to say how important this is for us as a national agenda that we have not yet accomplished. Often we minimize the damage that the United States did, especially during the Second World War, especially with the direct targeting of civilian populations, the massive bombing of German and Japanese cities. And so I just want to underscore how important this point is for all nations to move forward. And then we heard him reflect on the demands on natural resources, the changing challenges, how important it is to listen to the voices of the global South. From Kim Tae-sung, we heard very importantly about the role of communication, and the challenge of the whole pandemic of the coronavirus and the social conflict that caused, and then the hope that religious actors can be mediators leading to new life through changing one's mind. This, I think, is one of the most important themes in interreligious discussions. In Christianity, the word we translate as repentance in the Greek New Testament is metanoia, which literally means changing one's mind. And so this is a point on which I think Christians can learn from the rich Buddhist tradition of how we think changes everything in our lives. This is partly the opening line of the Dhammapada of Shakyamuni Buddha. And then he went on to talk about how important this practice of changing people's minds is for peacemaking and for addressing the ecological crisis. And I'd like to thank Doyon for kind of recapping a number of the themes of Aza Karam. From Aza Karam, I just want to highlight her passionate appeal for human rights as a common ground for multi-religious collaboration. She was quite critical of some religious actors who cause harm in the name of religion. This, to my mind, is one of the greatest dangers that we face and one of the greatest complications for the whole project of interreligious collaboration. She mentioned the collaboration of many, many different religious and intellectual leaders in the drafting of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights after the Second World War. One of the major Catholic contributors to the discussion was Jacques Maritain, a French Catholic philosopher steeped in the natural theology of Thomas Aquinas and open to dialoguing with absolutely everybody. He studied Taoism in China and wrote very positively about it. And he noted a paradox. He said, we can agree on human rights as long as we don't ask about the foundation for them. Because he recognized that philosophically we're often very, very different. But nonetheless, he was hopeful that we can work together. And so I'd like to just invite each of our discussants, if you would like to reflect any further on this challenge that Aza Karam has presented in terms of finding common ground in your work. And just ask you also to reflect further, if you would like, about what are the challenges and frustrations you encounter in concrete situations? And then what are the opportunities in those same situations for moving forward constructively? So I invite each of you to offer your thoughts.
Thank you so much. So I think it's important, it's a religious freedom issues, religious freedom in the conflict situation. So survey, a recent survey in United States mentioned 79% of the countries that under the restriction and the limitation of the freedom of religions. So religion is freedom of religions means two means. One is so anybody can believe any religions. Anybody can practice religious activities. This is one meaning. The second meaning is meanings of religion is sometimes betrays and condemns some sins or bad things to the people. So in my case, in my organizations, religions of peace can responsibility for the conflict. But we cannot cover all of the conflict in the politically and economically. We can do, but it's indirect. Most important primary target is for us. Religions of peace is we need to be safe among freedom of religions. So we can control, not control, we can protect abuse of religions. And also we can urge religious people to engage in the peace activities. Two things: religion can contribute, and religion we can stop the religions to condemn some sins and bad things. So this is conflict areas. We focus on the role of the act of the religions. This is my understanding of religions of peace primary approach. Thank you.
The Reverend Shinora already mentioned that there are many still the obstacle to religious freedom in the each countries. Already we are I'm also served the ACLP and then KCLP. So and we visited many countries to conflict areas, religious conflict areas, and we find out that there are many complex reason of the history or political issues, and also major religion and the small religious discrimination is existence in the world. So we are tried to as a religious communities or religious cooperative organizations intervention about these conflicts. And then this is very much good result because of our as a religion is they are very understand each other's. So through they are much more understand to how to realize the peace in the as under the cooperation with us. This is a very very strong our action-oriented processing by ACLP and RFP International or KCLPs. So our common goals is to how to we realize the peace in their society or in the out of society and in the world. That is our common goals and the common ideas. Thank you.
Maybe I can share from some of my rather short experience in this interfaith, multi-faith community working here is that, yes, I do see at times we do go over different conflicts. For instance, in order for us to have this space together, I cannot imagine how difficult it would be to prepare this conference in the backside. So for me, my understanding and my learning process is that one thing is from the Professor Azakram's words. She says something about we struggle together. So I try to see, and that is my own personal practice as well. I think I now am able to see a lot of conflicts in terms of process, in terms of what we call, particularly from the Buddhist expression of impermanence. Because yes, I am personally learning and growing every day, weeks, month, year. And this interfaith gathering and the dialogue is also growing together. So yes, sometimes I personally struggle with some other people, even though we're gathering together for the common ground. But at the same time, we may have different ideas. Sometimes I have to kind of give up my own ideas. Sometimes I have to just kind of shut down my own ideas to make the work going, right? But again, I think that every process is a part of our life, part of this reality. So whatever happens, whatever into this word, I think for me, the main idea of what am I learning here? What am I contributing to this particular time and space? Maybe that can be a little too much of my practice Buddhist approach, but I think that's something that we all can do here as an individual, as a religious people here. And that's why I see the hope in the midst of all these crazy reality here. So seeing everything as a part of our learning and growing experience. And then sometimes maybe I can lose my hope, but still, and then I can get the hope from others. That's why we're living together with a whole different people. So that's the main reason for me to be part of this conversation today as well.
Thank you very, very much to each of our speakers. Now we have a few minutes left, so I'd like to invite your questions. So I especially like to invite the students to be brave. But anyone, the participants in the conference as well, of course.
Well, hello everyone. I'm Shika Nakane. I'm a student at Seisen University in Tokyo, Japan. I major in global citizenship study from Miss Katie. So thank you for the precious opportunity now. Mr. Shinohara said, share young Japanese and Korean. So now I wanted young people from Korea and Japan to interact and build a good relationship to happen. Well, so I am interested in the effect of the global war on the global environment. Yes, the effect of war on the global environment. So, do you think global environment problems and military power can coexist? Well, I'm not good at English. Ask a question in Japanese.
Yes, let's go.
Yes, sorry. 地球環境と軍事力は共生することができるのでしょうか？
Military
教えていただきたいです。Thank you.
The environment, do you think the environment and the military force can coexist?
Thank you. Thank you very much. This is a very important questions. I like this question, this kind of questions, because this is actually certain relations between military and environmental issues. So certain effective. There's a relationships actually. So I remember that 2010, just 12 years ago, I was young. I was a youth leader of the Religions of Peace. And then together with international youth members, dispatch the campaign for degrees and eliminate the degrees expenditure of the military. And this is the money to devote to the protection of environment. So this means real connections. So recently, is military expenditure is growing up. It's rapidly growing up. It's for past decade. So according to the Stockholm International Institute, Peace Institute mentions, so global military expenditure is high in the past. And on the other hand, the climate change issues also is increasing more crucial. It's very severe. So one is the data in the 12 years ago campaigns. So there is a relationship between military expenditure and global warming. The proceedings is the same directions. That means we need to decrease the military expenditure and the money we use, the money for the military for use to the environment. So 12 years ago, I calculate one of 10% of military expenditure in the world. If we are 10% of the total number of the military expenditure to the protection environment, so we can progress the protection of the environmental issues. So we call the 10% decrease military expenditure, and then devote and provide those funds to the money. This is I got the survey from United Nations calculation. This is I think 12 years ago's memory, but a little bit uncertain maybe, but you can easily to find out the connection between military expenditure and also of course military actions. Of course, military action is a tremendous, damage to the environment. This is everybody knows. Thank you so much.
We just have a couple of minutes left, but sir, would you like to? We have a mic over here, please.
Good afternoon, My name is Lichiran. Buddhist Dharma name is Bogom. Nice to meet you. So I'm very pleased to meet many Buddhist friends who I know. But this moment, this very new experience to sit together and meet other religious people, very interesting. Listen to other religious opinion, whatever. I think this is very useful and meaningful to make friends and dialogue. I think we need more this kind of a seminar or conference. I think we need an open mind for other religious people. So I'd like to ask Professor Kim Tae-sung, who is Secretary General of ACRP. Would you tell us what's the best way to make friends between Christianity and Buddhism? As you mentioned about what one Christian minister's story, you know. So I think in Korea, I don't know other countries' leaders, but you don't know about Korea's religious problem in Korea, especially Buddhism and Christianity. So today, I saw many religious people, but I cannot see Protestant people. So once again, I'd like to ask you, because you know Korean religious situation, that's why would you please tell us the best way to make good friends, and we need more dialogue between Buddhism and Christianity. And secondly, I'd like to ask moderator Leo Pirinopoulos, who is the I think president of between Buddhism and Christianity studies. So would you tell us general suggestion or general, idea to coexist or to make a good friend between Buddhism and Christianity? Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Almost out of time, so just be brief, please.
Okay, then thank you. Your questions. I'm served the long times interface the dialogue organizations. I thinking the level 3 levels to interface dialogue and the interface cooperation between among the religions. First step is to friendships. And then Reverend Venerable, you already mentioned how to make a friendship. It's very simple to sit together, sharing idea, and then have together meals, sometimes alcohol. It's very much useful, but it's not complete. We can process in second step is to implement it of the common goods. This is very important. Already our interface organizations, RFP International, RFP Asia, RFP Korea, they are much more implemented common goods. The society issues, national issues, global issues, we are response. And then finally, the final step is we are meeting spirituality realities. This means we are deeply understand, respect each others. This is become one of our families, one of our real friends. No more enemies, no more conflict among the religions. This is the final steps. That is our goal, our interface organization's goal. Final stages we meet between religions. Thank you.
Some years ago, I chaired a week-long session on Buddhist Catholic dialogue around the world. Everyone agreed the key to Buddhist Catholic dialogue is lunch. Over lunch, neighbors talk to neighbors. They learn, you're concerned about this, well, I'm concerned about this. And we step out of ideological positions and get to know each other and then become friends. I heard one Vietnamese Buddhist woman say for her, the great takeaway of Buddhist Catholic dialogue was not all Catholics are bad. There's a few good ones. So she had many negative images from French colonial times. But when you get to know individuals and develop a relationship, then there's a possibility of realizing the prejudices aren't really true. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you to our wonderful moderator and our esteemed panelists. Thank you again. And lunch is very important, but so is a break time. So that's why this is going to be followed by a break. We're going to break until 4:40 p.m. The opening ceremony will start at 4:45. So we ask that you come here by 4:40 p.m. The center has also asked me, please do not bring any food or drink into the hall. Enjoy the refreshments outside. So enjoy your break. And again, see you again at 4:40 p.m.
There will be no peace among nations without peace among religions. Without dialogue between religions, there will be no interreligious peace. The Parliament of the World's Religions held in Chicago in 1893 sparked dialogue among religions. And the Parliament of the World's Religions opened the door to religious pluralism. From 1962 to 1965, the Second Vatican Council was held. The Second Vatican Council gave an opportunity for the Church to take the lead in the movement for interreligious dialogue. And in 1970, interreligious cooperation in the hopes of world peace became full-fledged, with the establishment of the Religions for Peace, WCRP. In the year 2000, the movement for interreligious cooperation was strengthened by collaboration with the United Nations. The Charter of Initiative for the United Religion was adopted to put religious peace movement into practice. Climate crisis, poverty, conflict, refugee, war. Now it is time to diagnose the global crisis we are facing with the collective intelligence of global citizens and create, as well as practice alternative paths for humanity through the Interfaith Coalition Conference for Global Citizens.
코로나 이전의 인류 세계는 세계 시민 교육이 선택이었지만 이제는 세계 시민 교육은 필수가 되어야 한다라고 생각합니다. 저희 종교연합 세계시민회의는 지구적 위기에 대한 공동 대응과 문제 해결을 위한 국제적 표준이 될 수 있는 윤리와 도덕을 재검토해 가고자 합니다. 이러한 노력을 통해서 풍요로운 인류의 미래를 열어가기 위한 물질 문명과 정신 문명의 조화를 추구해 갈 수 있는 세계시민 집단 지성이 구축되기를 바랍니다.
There is no more time left for mankind. Entering the post-COVID era, what will be the role of the United Religion movement in order to establish a new global order of peace and facilitate sustainable prosperity as well as harmonious future for mankind? The journey towards a bright future for religion and humanity is starting now. I hope you find the answer to the future lying ahead of humanity and religion at the Interfaith Coalition Conference for Global Citizens.
And now we have a very special performance by the Iccgc band, and they will perform today The Sound of Dawn. Oh, I thought there was going to be an encore. That was amazing. So how many of you actually want to get up and start dancing for Interfaith? So again, that performance was called Sound of Dawn by the Iccgc band. And this is a piece that calls us to move beyond the pain brought about by the pandemic, and we're moving towards a hopeful future. So thank you again. And as you notice, this band really seamlessly blends tradition with modernity, East and the West. So let's give them another round of applause. Thank you so much. So next, we're going to just slow things down again. We're going to just take a moment to ground ourselves in this space through a moment of offering a silent prayer for global peace, and really keeping in mind that the world is one, that our humanity is one family, and that this world is a single workplace. So for the peace of the world and the happiness of all humanity, please offer your prayers in a manner that aligns with your beliefs and with a sincere heart. So now we will begin the opening ceremony for the 2023 Interfaith Coalition Conference for Global Citizens. And my name is Grace Song. I'm an ordained Won Buddhist Kyomu and the presider of this event. Firstly, I'd like to extend my heartfelt gratitude to all the distinguished guests from near and far who have joined us today. Welcome to Korea, and welcome to the Won Buddhism Sotosan Center. And I genuinely wish I could introduce each and every one of you. However, due to time constraints, I'll only have time to announce a select number of distinguished guests. So when I do call your name, please, I ask that you stand up so that our audience can see you. So we are pleased to have with us this afternoon, Mr. Bang Ki-moon, the 8th Secretary General of the United Nations. If you could kindly stand and just let everyone know that you're here. We have Reverend Na Sang-ho, the Executive Director of Won Buddhism, here with us today. We have with us too Mr. Kim Song-gun. He's the president of Iccgc. Mr. Lee Kye-ho, the member of the National Assembly. We also welcome Father Leo Lefebvre, the co-chair of Iccgc. And Mr. Palop Tayori, the president of the World Fellowship of Buddhists. So welcome you all today. So next, we'll have the opening remarks by Father Leo Lefebvre, who is the co-chair of the 2023 Iccgc. So originally, this was scheduled to to be delivered by our president, Kim Song-gon, but he graciously handed this over to Father Lefebvre, who has been diligently supporting our event from abroad in numerous ways, ensuring its successful organization. So please let us welcome him to the stage with a warm round of applause.
It is a great honor and delight for me to extend a hearty welcome to all the speakers and participants in this historic meeting of the Interfaith Coalition Conference for Global Citizens. It is a particular pleasure and privilege to welcome His Excellency, the Honorable Ban Ki-moon, who contributed so much to developing global citizens during his time of leadership as Secretary General of the United Nations. Our global community suffers from divisions and distrust, dividing peoples and religious communities. At the same time, we face a global crisis due to climate change, pollution, and threats to biodiversity. In this hour of crisis, it is of vital importance for religious, political, and cultural leaders to come together to develop the practice of being truly global citizens. To set the stage for our discussions, I would like to invoke the message of the late Jean-Louis Cardinal Turin, who served as president of the Pontifical Council for Interreligious Dialogue. His words, opening a Buddhist Catholic dialogue on suffering and responses to suffering, set forth a vision for all of us to consider from whatever religious tradition. He commented, "In a world where diversity is seen as a threat, our coming together today in friendship and peace is a sign of our openness toward one another and our commitment to human fraternity." He elaborated, "We are all pilgrims. And I see this Buddhist Catholic dialogue as part of our ongoing quest to grasp the mystery of our lives and the ultimate truth." Cardinal Turin described 3 stages that are important for the journey of dialogue. First is carrying less baggage. In other words, overcoming prejudices, wounds, fears, in order to listen to one's heart and to that of one's religious neighbor. The second stage is crossing borders, journeying to know the other side while remaining firmly rooted in our beliefs. This process can thus turn ignorance into understanding, a stranger into a friend, hostility to hospitality, and divergence to convergence. The final stage is returning home, transformed by what we experienced. The Cardinal's words offer inspiration to us today, setting a hopeful tone and direction for our encounter in the Interfaith Coalition Conference for Global Citizens. I thank you.
Thank you so much for that beautiful message, Father Lefebvre. And next, we have the welcome remarks by Reverend Na Sang-ho, the Executive Director of One Buddhism. Please welcome him to the stage with a warm round of applause.
반갑습니다.
Welcome.
세계 각지
I would like to
그리고
welcome all
한국에서
participants from around the world,
종교
including
간의
South Korea,
갈등을
who have come
종식하고
to the Interfaith
새로운 평화
Coalition
세계를
Conference for
열고자
Global
하는
Citizen
굳은
2023
의지로
with a strong determination to put an end to
종교연합
religious
세계시민회의에
conflicts and open a
참석하신
new
모든
era
분들
of peace in the
진심으로
world.
환영합니다. 본불교 3대 종보사인
50 years ago,
대산종사께서는
third generation One Buddhism
소태산
Master Dasan
대종사님의
presented
이론주의와
the establishment of the
경산종사님의
United Religion,
성동윤리를
UR, as one of the
구체적으로
3
실현하기 위해서
proposers for world
50년
peace.
전 세계 평화를 위한 3대 제언의 하나로
Is that
종교연합기구 UR 창설을 제시하시며 모든
is that
종교인이
let all
한 마음 한
religious people
뜻으로
come together with
정치적인
one heart
유엔과 함께하는
and create a religious
종교적인 유화를
united
만들어서
religion in
도덕에 바탕하여
cooperation
전 인류의 정신
with the
문제를
political UN, United
해결해
Nations,
나가는
to address
기구로
the spiritual
삼자고
issues of all
말씀하신 바
humanity
있습니다.
based on morality.
이러한 시대적
Such a
요구는
demand at the
대산종사께서
time,
말씀하신
as emphasized by
인류의
Master Desan,
빈곤, 무지,
aligns with the duty
질병을
and
퇴치하는
responsibility of
종교의
religion
의무와 책임과도
that
그
eradicate
맥을 같이 하고
poverty,
있습니다.
ignorance, and
각
disease.
종교가
As
이념을
each
초월해서
religion transcends
만나고
its ideology to
협력하고
meet,
연대해서
collaborate, and act
실천으로
together,
동행하다 보면
I
그
believe
안에
that within
세계
this
평화의
convergence
불씨가
lies the
여기에서
spark of
시작될 것이라고
global
믿습니다.
peace.
어려운
We would
일정에도
like to express our
지속적으로 함께해
heartfelt
주시고
gratitude to
멀리서
the
직접
American
참여해 주신
Buddhism
미국
Christian
불교,
Research
기독교
Societies,
연구학회,
the World
세계
Conference on
종교
Religion and
평화회의,
Peace,
한국 포콜레라 운동 종교 간 대화팀,
the World
무교
Fellowship
유엔
of
사무소,
Buddhism Interreligious
사단법인
Dialogue
평화,
Team of Korea
원광대학교
Focolare
종교
Movement,
문제
the
연구소에
One Buddhism UN Office,
감사를
the
드리며
Peace Foundation,
더불어 후원해
and the
주신
Religious Issues
문화체육관광부,
Research Institute of Wonkwang
익산시,
University for their
원음방송 및
continuous
종교연합
participation
후원재단
despite the
모든
demanding
분들께도
schedule and distance.
감사
In
인사를
addition,
드립니다.
we would like to thank the Ministry of
제4회
Culture, Sports and
종교연합
Tourism,
세계
Iksan
시민회의
City, Wonum
지나온
Broadcasting,
길을
and the
되짚어보고
sponsoring foundations for their
앞으로
support. I
나아갈
hope as
방향을
we look back on the
설계하는
journey of the
소중한
fourth Interfaith
계기가 되기를
Coalition
바랍니다.
Conference for Global Citizens,
세계인의
it can
마음에
become a precious
진정한
opportunity for us
평화가
to plan
자리
our way
잡기를
forward.
기원합니다.
May
감사합니다.
genuine peace find a place in the hearts of the people worldwide. Thank you.
Thank you, Reverend Nasangho, for that beautiful welcoming remarks. Next, we will have a congratulatory speech by Mr. Lee Ho, a member of the National Assembly. Please welcome to the stage with a round of applause.
네, 국내외 종교 지도자 및
Esteemed
신도 여러분,
religious leaders
반갑습니다.
and believers from around the globe,
제4회
it is an absolute pleasure
2023년
to be among
종교연합
you all today.
세계시민회의 개최를
This is the first
진심으로
Interfaith
축하를 드립니다.
Coalition Conference for
먼저
Global
전
Citizens
세계
2023. I extend my
평화와
sincere
화합을 위해서
congratulations on this momentous occasion.
아름다운
First
공영의기를
and foremost,
만들어 가고자
I want
하는
to express my
뜨거운
heartfelt
염원으로
gratitude
함께해 주신
to all the
종교인
religious
여러분들께
people
진심으로
gathered here
감사드립니다.
today.
지난
Each
3년간
of
전
you
세계는
bringing with you the greatest
코로나19라고
wish
하는
to forge a path towards common prosperity
재난으로
through world peace and
경제,
harmony.
사회,
Over the
문화
past
등
3 years, the
전
world has
분야에
endured
걸쳐서
an
큰
unprecedented
고통을
pandemic
겪고
called
왔습니다.
COVID-19, profoundly
특히
impacting every aspect of our lives,
이로 인해서
including the
인류
economy,
소통이
society,
제한되고
and culture.
각종
As a
불평등이
consequence,
심화되는
human
한편
interactions have been significantly
정신적으로도
restricted, and
어려움과
various
불편을 호소하는
inequalities
분들이
have surfaced, leading
많아졌습니다.
to an increasing number of people
다행스럽게도
experiencing mental
코로나19는
difficulties.
우리 인류 힘으로
Fortunately,
이제
mankind
극복이 되고
is
있는
making
상황입니다.
significant strides in
그러나 우리
overcoming
앞에는 그동안
COVID-19 through
제기되어왔던 여러
collective
가지 문제들,
efforts.
특히
However, we still
산업
face a
발전과
series of
물질
pressing
만능주의를
issues
통해서
that have intensified during
나타났던
the
개인
pandemic.
간의 또
These
국가 간의
include conflicts and
갈등과
disputes among
분쟁,
individuals and
그리고
countries,
기후 위기로
often
인한
stemming from
지구
industrial
생태계의
development and
위기,
materialism, as well
또한
as the crisis
코로나19와
of the global
같은
ecosystem
인류 생존을
caused by the
위협하는
climate
새로운
crisis.
장애물이 나타났을 때
Moreover, threats to the
어떻게
survival of
극복해
mankind
나가야 할 것인가에
exemplified by
대한 근본적인
COVID-19
물음에
demand urgent
이제 해답을
attention.
찾아야 할 때가 되었습니다. 해답의 단초는
I
그러나
firmly
결코 멀지
believe that
않습니다.
we must seek
유구한
answers
역사를
to the
통해서
fundamental question
이
of how to
세상에
overcome
사랑과
these
평화를
persistent and
전파하면서
emerging
인류
obstacles.
화합이기를
In fact,
강조해온
the
전
answers to
세계
our
종교인
challenges are
여러분들이
within reach.
중요한 역할을 해야 한다고
I am convinced
확신합니다.
that religious
우리
people
사회가
worldwide who have long
마주하고
emphasized the
있는
path of human harmony and propagated
현상적
love and
문제
peace
해결을
must
위해서는
play a
먼저
crucial
사람들
role
간의
in
믿음,
addressing the
그리고 사랑,
phenomenological problems facing
또한
our
정신적
society. To achieve this,
안식이
we must
우선돼야
prioritize
합니다.
trust, love,
그러한 점에서
and
전
mental
세계
well-being among
각
people.
종교인들이
In this regard, I
함께하는 이번
firmly
축제의
believe
장은
that this
지금
festival,
우리 사회의
attended by religious
지속
people
가능한
from all
발전과
over the world,
인류
will
화합을 위해서
provide a
가장 중요한
meaningful
것이
opportunity
무엇인가를
to
깊이 생각해
contemplate
볼 수
what is the
있는
most
참으로
crucial
뜻깊은 자리가 될
for the
것으로
sustainable growth
믿고
of our
있습니다.
society and the harmony of
종교는 항상
mankind.
우리들에게
Throughout
마음 안정과
history,
평화를
religion has
가져다
bestowed
주었습니다.
upon us a
전
state of
세계가
balance and inner
현실의
peace.
문제와
As
미래에
the
대한
world
걱정으로
grapples with the
큰
imminent
고민을 하고 있는
problems and
지금
uncertainties
종교인
about the
여러분들의
future,
지혜를 통해서
my
우리
earnest
사회가
hope
보다
is that
올바른
our
방향으로
society can chart a
행복을
course
추구해
towards
나갈 수
greater
있기를
happiness
기대합니다.
through the profound
끝으로
wisdom of
다시 한번
religious
제4회
principles. To
2023년
conclude my speech, I once
종교연합
again would like to extend my
세계시민회의에
heartfelt
함께해 주신
gratitude to the esteemed global
글로벌 종교
leaders
지도자
and religious
여러분들을 비롯한
representatives gathered
모든
here
분들께
today
깊이
for the
감사
fourth
말씀을 드립니다.
Iccgc in
고맙습니다.
2023. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lee Jae-ho. And now we have Mr. Paulo Tayori, the president of the World Fellowship of Buddhists. He will now share a message of peace.
Most Reverend Nang Saho, Executive Directors of One Buddhism, His Excellency Mr. Ban Ki-moon, the 8th Secretary General of the United Nations, Most Reverend, Most Venerable, distinguished participant of the Interfaith Coalition Conference for the Global Citizen 2023. On behalf of the World Fellowship of Buddhists, the WFP, and its sub-organization, the World Fellowship of Buddhist Youth, and the World Buddhist Universities, I am very delighted to express my heartfelt gratitude to the Most Reverend Nasang Ho, whose dedication and commitment to interfaith dialogue have been instrumental in bringing us all together, including One Buddhism and all of others organizations involved in the hosting of the Interfaith Coalition Conference of the Global Citizen 2023. The opportunity to discuss the conference themes shaping our futures together, engage spiritualities in the era of crisis is accurately timely. More importantly, the World Fellowship of Buddhists has an objective to work for securing peace and harmony among men and happiness of all beings, and to collaborate with the others organizations working for the same ends. And it is maturities sharing by the conference. Hello. During the critical times in our history, it is essential to come together as global citizens from diverse spiritual backgrounds to address the challenges we face. The theme of this conference called the unities and cooperation, and we recognize the need to find innovative and compassionate ways to navigate the various crises confronting humanities today. We must contemplate the desired final social model with which to attain. Buddhists offer value insight, teaching that event and not random but result of cause of condition. There is no concept to presentation and fate. Later things and event are seen as dynamic and constantly changing. Adopting a positive attitude and cultivating gratitude can transform our objective experience even in the face of unwanted and painful situation. This can help balance to overwhelm feeling and despite our time of crisis. Buddhism and spiritual path focus on the present moment, encouraging mindfulness and seeing things as they try and without judgment or preconception. The teaching also emphasizes selflessness and kindness as essential human qualities for creating a peaceful society. The Buddha teaching and including means of all humanities in eliminate conflicts and achieve peace. Positive attitude and a collective effort can lead to the construction of the peaceful world. Moreover, it is crucial to exist harmoniously with followers of others' religious, respect the unique characteristic and spiritual. All religious shares core philosophies of love, respect, and non-violence, express differently in solve regional situations. The common goal of religious teaching is to guide individual in becoming better human being and serving others selflessly. Religious leaders have provided pathways to lasting peace of their followers and disciples, but achieve peace requires determination, perseverance, time, commitment, sacrifice, compromise, and vision. I believe that we uniting us as a global communities we can work toward the ultimate goal of achieving peace even amid to most challenging crises. Through the collective effort and understanding, we can overcome different and embrace common value of fosters harmonies and mutual respect. In conclusion, it let us use the opportunity to engage in meaningful discussion sharing experience and learn from each others. Together we can shape and brighter futures from the insight gained from this conference to inspire us to take the meaningful action, working hand in hand for the well-being and harmonies of mankind. As the Buddhists, respectively, may I respectfully invoke the blessing of the Noble Triple Gems upon us all. May the skies entities in which we believe and have faith to guide us to the peaceful world. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Coyote. And as you mentioned, I hope that by uniting and taking collective action, we can steer the world towards greater happiness and harmony for all of humanity. Thank you again for that beautiful message. Next, it's my honor to introduce today's keynote speaker. His Excellency Mr. Ban Ki-moon served as the 8th Secretary General of the United Nations from 2007 to 2016. He's been a pivotal figure in shaping humanity's direction on sustainable development, climate change, and global peace. So let's welcome Mr. Ban Ki-moon to the stage with a big round of applause.
존경하는 나상호 원불교
Reverend Na Sang-ho,
조정원장님,
Executive Director of
김성곤
One Buddhism,
종교연합 세계시민회의
Dr. Kim Song-gon,
대회장님,
President of
레오
Iccgc,
르페베르 종교연합
Father
세계시민회의
Leo Lefebvre,
공동의장님,
Co-Chair of
일본
Iccgc,
불교계 지도자를 비롯한 해외 귀빈
and
여러분,
distinguished guests from
그리고
overseas, including Japanese
원불교
Buddhist
성직자와
leaders,
국내외
and One
교도
Buddhist
여러분,
Clutch and
만나 뵙게 돼서
local and
대단히
foreign
반갑습니다.
believers. It is a great pleasure to meet all of you.
지속 가능한 미래를 위한 종교의 사회적 책임, 그리고 종교 간
And
연대를
responsibilities of
위한
religions for
종교연합
sustainable future.
세계시민회의가 성황리에 개최되신 것을
I extend my
진심으로
sincere congratulations
축하드립니다.
on the successful
아울러 이 뜻깊은
hosting
자리에
of
저를 초대해 주신 데도
Iccgc
감사 말씀을
2023,
드립니다.
and thank you very much for inviting
올해는
me to this meaningful
정신과 물질의
occasion.
개벽으로
This year
대명천지의
marks
구현을 위한 원불교가 개창한 지 107년
the
되는 해로
108th
원불교에서 매우
anniversary of the founding
뜻깊고
of One
중요한 해로
Buddhism,
알고
which
있습니다.
stands for building a
한
brighter
세기를
world
넘어서
through the synthesis
평화와
of
번영의
spirit
인류 사회
and
구현을
matter.
위해서
It
앞장서
was
오신
recognized as a
원불교
crucial
성직자
and pivotal year in the
교도
history of
여러분의
One
헌신을
Buddhism.
인류 사회는
The dedication
결코
of priests
잊지
and
않을
followers
것입니다.
of One Buddhism who
저는
have been at the
평소
forefront of realizing
원불교가
a peaceful and
소리
prosperous
없이
human society over the
강한
past century
종교라는
will
생각을
forever
해왔습니다.
be etched in human
교세는
society
날로
memory.
확장되고
I have long regarded
사회를
One
향한
Buddhism as a
울림은
quiet yet
커지고
potent
있습니다.
force in the world of
특히
religion. The
원불교가
reach of the faith continues to
RE100
expand,
Renewable
and
Energy
its positive
100%
impact on the society is continually growing. In
원불교의
particular,
기초 아래
the
많은 교당에
RE100 One
이미
Buddhism initiative
태양광
stands out.
발전
Many
설비를
temples
갖췄을 뿐만
are
아니라
already equipped with
2050년까지
solar panel power
모든
generation
교단의
facilities,
소비
and the
전력을
ambitious goal of transitioning
재생에너지로
all religious
충당한다는
facilities power
원대한
consumption to renewable
목표를
energy by
알고
2050
있습니다.
is being
이 점에
actively
대해서
promoted.
전직 유엔 사무총장으로서
In that sense,
진심으로 감사의
I
말씀을
extend
드립니다.
my
고맙습니다.
heartfelt gratitude to your efforts.
유엔 사무총장 10년의 임기 동안에 파리
Throughout my
기후변화 협약
tenure as the
체결과
UN Secretary
발효에
General,
아주 전력을 기울였던 사람으로서
I have put
기후
in
환경과
all of my
생태 보존을 위한
efforts
원불교 교도 여러분들의 지속적인
to
노력에 대해서
do my
다시
duties
한번 감사의 말씀을
regarding the
드립니다.
climate change and thank you
원불교를
for
중심으로
your
종교계가
cooperation
연대해서
in this
이
regard.
같은 운동을 적극적으로 전개해 주신다면
If the religious
2050
world centered on one
net
Buddhism
달성에
actively embraces and
성신호가
advances this
켜지고
movement in solidarity,
인류의
it will
지속
illuminate
가능한
the path
삶의
towards
터전인
achieving
지구는 빠르고 강한
2050 net zero.
회복력을 보여줄
In turn,
것입니다.
our planet will exhibit
존경하는
rapid
종교 지도자
and
여러분,
robust resilience.
인류 사회는
Distinguished
지금
religious
역사상
leaders,
어느
the world
때보다도
is currently
거대한
grappling with
복합적
an
위기에 처해
unprecedentedly
있습니다.
complex crisis.
최근
Over the past 3 years,
3년여 사이에 동시다발로 생존적
humanity
위기
has been
앞에서
confronted by
인류는
overlapping
큰
crises of
타격을 받고
survival.
있습니다. 지난 2019년 12월에 발생한
The emergence of
코로나
the
팬데믹은
COVID-19 pandemic in
지난
December
7월 현재
2019
전
led
세계에서
to
7억 6,700만 명의 확진자와
767 million
695만
confirmed cases
약
and
700만 명의 사망자를
about
발생시키면서
7 million deaths
인류의
globally
삶이
by last July,
사실은 얼마나
underscoring the
위태로운지
fragility of human life
치명적인
and
초위기 앞에서
perilous threat of
인간은
infectious
얼마나
diseases.
무력한지 깊이
It has starkly
깨닫게
highlighted
했습니다.
our vulnerability in the face of
코로나19는
crisis.
아직도 우리들 주변에
COVID-19
머물면서
continues to cast a
건강과
shadow over
일상을
our health
회복
and
위협하고
daily
있습니다.
lives.
전 세계가 코로나 팬데믹과 싸우고 있던
In
2022년
February
2월
2022, while the
러시아가
world was still
탱크와
combating the
병력을
pandemic,
앞세워서
Russia carried
우크라이나를
out an
불법
illegal invasion of
침공했습니다.
Ukraine with tanks and
한
troops.
독재자의 야욕과 망상,
The ambitions,
그 추종
delusions,
세력에
and
의해서
actions of a
수많은
dictator and his
자유시민이
followers resulted
비참하게
in the
목숨을
tragic
잃고
death of
죄
countless
없는 어린이가
citizens of
납치당하고
a free democracy,
아무 죄 없는 일반
abduction
시민들
of innocent
600만
children,
명 이상이
and
옆에
brutal
나라에
oppression of innocent
피난민으로
women
가서
through
고생을
violence.
하고 있고 무고한 많은 여성이
Yes,
폭력에 짓밟혔습니다.
innocent women
그
were
어떠한
exposed
명분도
to the danger of
21세기
violence.
대명천지에
No
벌어진
cause can
이
justify
참혹한
such a
침략
brutal
전장을
act of aggression
정당화할
in the
수는
21st
없을
century.
것입니다. 저는 작년 8월
Last year,
11일
on August
젤렌스키
16,
대통령의 초청으로
I
우크라이나를
visited Ukraine
방문해서
and met with government leaders, including
대통령을
President
비롯한
Zelensky.
정부 지도자들을 면담하고
We had a good
또
meeting at the time,
러시아군이 학살을 자행한
and
북차
I also
이르핀
visited Bucha
현장을
and
방문하고
Irpin, where
그야말로 그
the Russian
목불인견의
army
처참함에
perpetrated
그대로 치를
massacres.
떨었습니다. 유엔에 있던
The
10년
scenes
동안
I saw left on haunting
수단을
memory.
비롯해서 아프리카와
During my 10 years
중동,
at the UN, I
사이프러스
encountered
등
conflict and
분쟁과
terrorism in various
테러의
places,
현장은
from
제가
Sudan in
한
Africa
곳도
to the Middle East and
빠뜨리지 않고
Cyprus.
다 방문했었습니다.
I
그런
visited every
저로서
place
그보다
in
처참하고
conflict.
가혹한 현장을 보지를
But the
못했습니다.
scenes from Ukraine were
어떤
among
희생을
the most
치르더라도
devastating and heart-wrenching.
자유민주주의와 조국을 지키겠다는
The
우크라이나
determined
국민들의
resistance of the Ukrainian
처절한
people in
저항과
defense of their
전 세계의
country
지탄에도
and
불구하고
liberal democracy
러시아는
at
아직도
any cost
침략
remains
전쟁을
commendable.
멈추지 않고 있습니다.
Despite global condemnation, Russia
당장
continues
빼앗은
its
영토를
aggressive
물려주고
war. Russia could
철군해야
consider
합니다.
returning the territory
전
it has
세계
taken and the
자유민주주의
option of
국가들은
withdrawing troops in a timely
우크라이나의
manner.
항전과 재건을
The free
위해서
democracies of the
가능한
world should give
모든
all
지원을
possible support
아끼지
to
말아야
Ukraine's
합니다.
struggle and
윤석열
reconstruction.
대통령께서 지난달
President Yoon Suk-yeol
7월
visited
15일 젤렌스키 대통령 초청으로
Ukraine
우크라이나를
at the
방문하고
invitation of President
안보
Zelensky
지원,
on July
인도적
15th
지원,
and announced the
재건
launch
지원을
of
담은
the Ukraine Peace and
우크라이나
Solidarity Initiative.
평화연대
This
이니셔티브의
initiative
추진을
encompasses security
밝히신 바
support,
있습니다.
humanitarian aid, and
전쟁
reconstruction
범죄자
assistance.
푸틴은 인류의
Efforts could be
법의
directed towards
심판대에
ensuring there is fair and
불러세워야
just
합니다.
assessment of the
또
actions
다른
taken by
침략을
Putin
막기
in
위해서는
accordance with the
반드시
principles of global justice.
정의를 구현해야 합니다.
He must
저는
be brought
우크라이나
to
방문
justice
직후에
to prevent another
뉴욕
invader.
타임스와
Right
기도를
after
받고
my visit to Ukraine,
러시아의
I had an interview
불법
with the New York
침공은
Times and
전쟁
emphasized
범죄,
that Russia's
침략
illegal
범죄,
invasion is a war
반인도적
crime,
범죄이고
a crime of
이에 대해서
aggression, and a
침묵하는
crime
것은
against humanity,
인류의
and silence about
인간의
it
도리가 아니다.
is not an
이것은
option as a
선택사항이
humankind.
아니다라고 강조하고 우리 우크라이나의 자유민주주의를 위해서 국제사회가
And I also
연대하고
demanded the solidarity
협력할
and
것을
cooperation of the global community
강조했습니다.
in defense
여러분
of
잘
Ukraine.
아시다시피 마틴 루터
As you
킹
know,
목사께서
Martin Luther King Jr.
이런
once
말씀을
said,
하셨습니다. 역사적 대전환기에 있어서
the greatest
세계의
tragedy
비극은
in a great turning point in
약자의
history
거친 아우성이 아니라
is not the harsh clamor
선한
of the
자의
weak, but
소름
the
끼치는
appalling silence
침묵이라고
of the good.
말한 바 있습니다. 지금 많은 세계의 나라들이 러시아의 침공에 대해서
Now the world
침묵을 지키고 있습니다. 침묵을
is
지킨다는
keeping
것은
silence
정의를
about
배반한다는
war
거나 마찬가지다.
initiated by Russia.
저는 여러분에게
I
호소합니다.
earnestly ask you to take the lead
종교적
by calling
정의와
for your voice to
평화의
condemn
정신으로
Russia's unlawful
러시아의
aggression in the
불법
spirit of
침략을
religious
소리 높여
justice and peace,
응징하고
and to join
세계
in
시민
a global
사회를
civil
위해서
society
해서 동참해 줄 것을 요청하면서 앞장서 주실 것을
You should
간곡히
make your voice
당부드립니다.
heard in this regard.
여러분의 목소리가 거대한 힘을 일으키고
Your voice will
그
generate
힘이
great power,
평화와
and it will serve as
정의의
a
무기로
weapon of peace
영향을
and
미칠
justice.
것이라는 신념을 우리 모두가
I believe so.
이
I
자리에서
sincerely
확인하고
hope that all
공감하기를
of us can
간절히
confirm and
바랍니다.
sympathize with our beliefs here.
여러분 잘 기억하시다시피 2001년 9월에
As you may remember,
미국의
September of 2021,
테러가 생겼습니다. 9.11 테러가 생겼습니다.
in
그
September
현장에
of
제가
2001, there,
있었습니다.
okay,
당시
9/11 terrorist
한승수
attacks occurred
외교부
in
장관이
the U.S. At the
유엔
time, I
총회
was in the U.S.
의장으로 있었습니다.
and Mr. Han
그날
Sung-soo
바로
served
9.11
as
테러가
the chair
일어났죠.
of the Council of the in the
9.11
UN.
테러가 일어났고
And on September
그때에
11,
이 문제를 해결하기
on the
위해서
tragic day,
유엔이 취한 제일 먼저 조치가
the first action taken by the
세계의
UN was
종교 지도자들을 유엔 총회에 초청을 했습니다.
to invite the global
러시아
religious
종교,
leaders
또 로마 교황청,
from the
또
different
기독교,
religions to
불교,
the UN
외교 모든
that
세계
encompasses
모든 종교
Buddhism,
지도자들이 유엔에 모여서
Christianity,
어떻게
Catholic,
하면
Muslim,
종교의 힘으로
and so
이러한
on.
테러를
So they
방지할 수
invited different
있을까?
religious leaders
라는
from different
문제를
religions
심도 있게
to discuss
논의했습니다.
how we can make a better world.
2014년에 그때 그
In
과격주의가
2014,
아주 심했습니다.
at the time, we witnessed
익스트리미스트들이
serious extremism.
세계 곳곳에 선량한 시민들을 죽이고 자기들 마음대로
Extremism led
범죄를
to deaths
자행했습니다.
of innocent people
그때 오바마
across the world.
대통령이
At the time, President Obama
백악관의
of the U.S.
세계 정치 지도자들을 불러서
invited political leaders
컴백
from different countries,
익스트리미즘,
and he mentioned about
격퇴하자.
comeback,
라는
counterback.
정상회의를 소집을 했고
he mentioned
유엔
about how we can
사무총장으로서도
resolve the
저도
extremism,
참석을 했습니다.
and I also joined the meeting.
그때 제가 느낀 것은
At the time, I
이
felt
combat
combat
무력으로
extremism.
침공하는 무력으로 응징하는 것도 중요한데
Of course, combating extremism
9.11
with
테러 때 했던
military
것처럼
force, war with
종교
weapons
지도자들의
is
힘을
important.
빌어보는 것이
But
어떻겠느냐.
as we
그렇게 해서
did
제가
in the midst of 9/11 attack,
유엔 사무총장
we
명의로
may gather wisdom
세계의
from religious
종교
leaders.
지도자들을 불렀습니다.
So at that time,
딱
as
두
the
달
Secretary
후입니다.
General of the UN,
4월 달에
I
백악관에서
invited
했고
religious
6월
leaders
달에 유엔에서
again
종교 지도자를
in
불렀죠.
June.
그 많은 종교 지도자 앞에 제가 호소를 했습니다.
And in front of those religious leaders,
여러분들의 종교적인 이런
I
영향력을 발휘해서
delivered my message.
세계 모든 사람들이
You should
이
exert
과격 테러
your influence
분자로부터
and impact
자유롭게
to protect the world, to protect
겁없이
innocent people
희생당하지 않도록
against
도와주시기 바랍니다.
extremism.
전폭적인 종교 지도자들의 지원을 받았습니다.
Yes, they
오늘
provided, they mentioned they will
여러분들이
provide full support
정치
in that
지도자들,
regard.
군사 지도자들보다 훨씬 더 막강한
Yes,
힘을 갖고
you
계시다.
religious
이런
leaders
점에 대해서
are
여러분
more powerful than
자부심을
political
느끼시기
leaders
바랍니다.
or some
감사합니다.
military leaders. Thank you. You should be proud of that point.
존경하는 종교 지도자
Esteemed
여러분,
religious leaders,
여러분의 목소리가 거대한 힘을
your voice
일으키고
will
그
generate
힘이
great power,
평화와 정의의
and it will serve
무기로
as a weapon of
영향을
peace and
끼칠 것이라는
justice.
신념을 우리 모두가 이 자리에서 다시 한번 확인할
I sincerely
수
hope that
있습니다.
all of us can
우리는
confirm and sympathize with
집단
this
지성을
belief.
발휘해서 세계적인
We
위기를
will
이겨냈고
overcome.
또
Okay, we have
이겨낼
overcome the
것입니다.
crisis of the century by demonstrating
수백 년,
our collective intelligence,
수천 년
and we will overcome it
온갖
again.
위기를 겪고 불행을 이겨내면서
This is because mankind
인류는
has become wiser
지혜로워졌고
and stronger
강해졌기
through various
때문입니다.
crises.
그러나 지금 우리는
But
팬데믹과
now
전쟁보다 더 위험하고
we recognize that we
더
face a crisis
근본적인
more dangerous
위기에
and
직면해
fundamental than
있음을
pandemics and
여실히
wars.
알고 있습니다. 이것이 바로 기후
That
위기입니다.
is climate
Climate
change. That is
crisis.
climate crisis.
이 점에 대해서 제가 여러분들의 또 지혜, 협조,
Regarding this
활동,
critical
행동을
issue,
갖다가
I'd like to ask
요청하고자
for
합니다.
your support, your
기후
wisdom, and
변화는
your actions.
단순한 변화가 아니다.
It is not a simple change,
이것은
but
change가 아니라
an
크라이시스다.
existential
위기다.
crisis,
생존을
a
위협하는
catastrophe
재앙이다.
that threatens the
디자스터다.
survival of
라는
mankind.
점을 강조합니다. 가장 큰 위험은 천천히 온다.
They
이런 말이
say the
있습니다.
greatest danger arrives
기후
slowly.
변화는
Climate change
19세기
has been
중반
gradually advancing.
산업혁명을 거치면서
It was spurred by
천천히
the Industrial
그러나 쉬지
Revolution,
않고 다가와서 우리의
and it
일상생활에
is now
직접적인
exerting increasing
아주
influence
긴급한
over our daily
위기가
lives.
돼 있습니다. 기후 위기는
The climate
오늘날
crisis
인류의 삶을 뒤흔드는 위험에서
isn't
그치는 것이
merely
아니라
a contemporary
우리가
threat
제대로
affecting
대응을
lives
하지
today.
않는다면 머지않은
If we
미래에
do not respond
인류를
in an appropriate
절멸시키는
manner, it is a
수도 있는
catastrophe. It will be a
재앙이다.
catastrophe that could
이렇게
potentially
이야기합니다.
eradicate humanity in the near
많은
future.
과학자들이 우리가 기후
Many
위기를
scientists
막아내지 못하면 100년 내에
warn
100년 내에 6차
that within
대멸종
a century,
sixth mass extinction
you will face a
sixth
sixth mass
extinction이
extinction
생긴다.
event.
mass extinction은 뭐냐?
What is mass
대절멸은
extinction?
뭐냐? 인류나 지구의 모든
Mankind
생태계
or the
70%
entire
이상이
ecosystem,
다
70% of the species
소멸하는
on
겁니다.
Earth will go
인간의
extinct
70%가 다 죽고 동물,
if we
식물 다
experience
죽을
the
겁니다.
sixth mass extinction.
그러면 5차 mass extinction, 5차
And fifth
대절멸은 언제
mass extinction,
생겼느냐?
when we had the fifth
6,500만
mass
년 전에
extinction,
생겼다고 합니다. 6,500만 년 전에. 그때 우리가
about 65
영화에서나
million years
보는
ago, we experienced the fifth
다이노소,
mass
디노사우루스
extinction.
같은 이런 동물들이 다 사라졌습니다.
Through the
인류가
fifth mass
생긴
extinction, the
적은
dinosaurs
인류
disappeared.
처음부터 보면 약
And
한
ancient species
30만 년
disappeared.
됩니다. 인류는.
So mankind,
그러나
since
지금
then,
우리와 같은 형태의 인간이 있었다는 건 2만 년 정도
about
됩니다.
20,000 years ago, starting from
인류가
20,000
문자를
years ago,
가지고
okay, the
문화,
mankind like
문명 이런 걸 한
us,
것은
they
대개
started to
제일
live.
잡아도 6,000년뿐이 안 됩니다.
And then,
인류의 역사는 아주 짧습니다.
so the human history is
잘못해서 100년
relatively
내에
short.
우리 인류가 다
When we think about the
죽는다.
civilization and culture,
이런 상황은
its history is
있을 수가 없죠.
merely
그러나
6,000 years.
생긴다고 과학자들이 경고를 하고 있습니다.
Many
제가 유엔
scientists
사무총장을
are
하면서
making warning about this.
남극, 북극
Possible mass
합쳐서
extinction.
5번을 제가 갖고
I visited
기후 변화가
North Pole and
일어나는데
the South
전
Pole
세계
about
어디
5
안
times.
간 데가 없습니다.
And then I
그
visited
자리에서
places
제가 이렇게
experiencing
이야기했습니다.
climate crisis as well, all over the world.
북극과 남극의 얼음이 녹고 있습니다.
If the ice,
지구의
if
바닷물이
the iceberg melt,
올로
okay,
상승하고
actually they
있습니다.
are melting. And we are
우리가 지금 행동하지
experiencing
않으면
the
우리의 미래는
rise of sea
없습니다.
level. If
기후
we do
클라이밋
not act,
액션을
we will not
취하기
have
바랍니다. 이런
any
점을
future. That
수백
is why
번,
we need to
수천
take
번
action. I
호소를
have
했습니다.
emphasized and underscored this
이러한
message numerous
문제를
times.
여러분들이 절대 간과하시지 말고
You should not
여러분들의
overlook this
그
issue,
종교
climate change.
지도자들께서 여러분들의 그 우리 교우들
You,
이런 분들에게
distinguished religious leaders,
기후 액션에
you should also
앞장서달라
propagate this
이런
message
점을 강조해 주셨으면
as a
대단히
frontrunner
감사하겠습니다. 제가
of climate action.
2019년 4월에 프란시스코
April
로마
2019,
교황청을 만났습니다.
I
약
met
4년
Pope
전입니다.
Francisco about 4 years ago.
그때 교황께서
At the
무슨
time,
말씀을
Pope Francisco
하셨냐면
mentioned
신은
God
누구나 언제든지 용서한다.
forgives everyone,
인간은
anytime.
가끔 용서한다. 기분이
Human
좋으면
beings forgive
용서하죠.
sometimes
그러나
when they are
자연은
in good mood. However,
절대 용서 안
nature
한다. 이렇게
never
얘기했습니다.
forgives.
God always forgives. Human being
God always forgives.
sometimes
Human
forgives.
beings
But
sometimes forgive.
nature
But nature
never forgives.
never forgives.
이 말을 제가 늘 강조하고
This is
있습니다.
what was mentioned by the Pope.
우리 여러분 강한 것 같죠? 대통령,
You think we are
총리,
strong enough?
장관, 또 종교
President,
지도자,
Prime Minister, religious
뭐 군인,
leaders,
강한
ministers,
것 같죠?
soldiers,
그러나 자연을
they
이기는
appear to be quite
인간은
strong.
없습니다.
However, in front of
우리
nature,
자연
we
앞에
are so weak.
겸허해야
We
된다.
cannot
이 점을
beat the nature. We should
여러분께
be very
말씀을 드리고
humble in front of
우리의
nature.
생활
I'd like
태도를
to emphasize this point.
100%
It's
바꿔야
time to
된다.
change our lifestyles,
어떻게
our
바꾸냐?
ways to deal with the
기후
environment
친화적으로,
completely.
기후 친화적으로
Our
바꿔야 됩니다.
way of life
전등 한
should
불
be
하나,
friendly to the
물방울 한
climate.
방울, 종이 한
Single
장,
drop of water,
모든
single sheet of
자원
paper,
이런 것을
every resource
아주 아껴서 써야
matters.
됩니다. 쓰레기 이게 지금 순환
Waste.
경제라고 서큘러 이코노미라고 그러는데
They call it circular
이 우리가
economy.
인간이 이 지구가 아마 전체
Human
쓰레기로
beings
덮인
and
날도
Earth,
멀지
I
않았다.
think, in the
그래서
future may be
우리의
covered
생활
by
태도를
waste.
전부 다 바꿔야
That's
된다.
why I'm
이런
saying
점을
that we need
말씀을
to
드립니다.
completely change our lifestyle.
제가 유엔 사무총장 하면서 제일 자랑스럽게
When
생각하는
I
것은
served as the UN Secretary General at the time,
15년
I was so proud of
12월 12일 불란서 파리에서 기후변화
in Paris,
협약이 채택이
the
됐습니다.
climate change compact
이것은
was
채택이 됐지
adopted at the
이행이
time.
되지 않으면은 아무런 목표가
But
아무런
without
의미가 없는 겁니다.
implementation
이
of
목표를
Paris
달성하기
Agreement,
위해서
the agreement will
지난
be
정부
meaningless.
때
To achieve,
그 문재인
to
대통령께서
abide by the agreement, the
2050년까지
previous administration, Moon
탄소
Jae-in
배출을
administration,
네트 제로,
declared that by
순제로로
2050,
만들겠다고 공약을 했습니다.
the
전 세계.
country, Korea, is
전
going to
세계
achieve
많은
net zero.
나라들이
It was a
탄소
public
중립
declaration to the
2050을
global community.
발표했습니다. 윤석열 대통령이
Carbon zero
이거를 받아서
2050. And now, current
탄소
Yoon
중립 및
administration
녹색
continues
성장위원회를
this
만들었습니다.
action, and he
이것은
formed Green
정부의
Growth Committee
바뀜에도 불구하고
carbon
이것은
neutrality. Even if
인류에 대한
the administration
자연에
has been
대한
changed,
약속으로서 다 지켜나가야
it
되는
was a promise
여러분들도
to
여기에
the humankind and
적극적으로
nature. We should
동참해 주시기
continue
바랍니다.
with this.
이
We
약속은
should continue this
절대
commitment.
후퇴할 수 없는
This
약속이고
promise pledge cannot
해야만
be
합니다.
reversed, and then we have
그러나
to
솔직히
meet
말씀드려서
this
저는 화가 많이 나
appointment and
있습니다.
also pledge.
갈수록
However, frankly speaking, I must
실망스럽고
confess that
초조합니다.
I'm deeply frustrated at this
파리
moment, and I
기후변화
feel
협약
really
내용
nervous as time went by.
대부분은
The
전
implementation of Paris
세계적으로
Agreement
장애에
on climate
부딪혀서
change faces global
속도감
challenges
있게
across the world. So it
추진되지를
is
못하고
not
있습니다.
advancing with the
아까
swiftness
말씀드렸지만
required. It's not
러시아의
fast enough.
우크라이나
So
침공으로
Russia's
인해서
invasion of Ukraine
많은
has triggered a global
선진국들이
energy crisis.
기후 변화에 쓸 돈을
So, which
지금
means
전쟁에
that
쓰고
the
있다.
people who spend money
이런
on the
점입니다.
climate change, but
지구를
that money
구하기
is now
위해서는 전
invested
세계 모든
into the
나라가
war.
연대와
So, in order to overcome
협력의
this climate
정신에
change,
공감대를
across the
갖고
world we need to
함께
have take
행동해야 합니다.
action to not with a
탄소
sense of
네트
solidarity
제로의
and
길은
cooperation. The journey to achieve
험하고
net zero emissions is a
고통스러운
long,
길이
arduous,
될
and
수가 있습니다.
challenging.
기업이
So the
재무적
companies
요인과
are now
환경, 사회, 투명한 지배
promising
구조를
the
추구해야
ESG,
지속 가능하다는
they are pursuing the
소위 그
ESG management,
ESG,
which said that the
Environment,
company's
Social
projects that are company
Governance.
sustainable only when it is
이게
prioritize
선택이 아니라
environmental, social,
이건
and
필수다.
transparent governance
이런 점을
alongside the financial
말씀을 드립니다.
considerations.
화석
This is
연료의
the
기계에서
indispensable
우리가
management philosophy for
부를
survivor rather
참
than being an optional
거의
choice.
호식했습니다.
So we
그러나
have been very much
지금은
prosperous
그럴 때가
and waste our
아니다.
energy and also
사실은
pretty
여러분
much
다 잊어버렸을지
spending
모르겠지만
spree. However,
4년
this is
전
not the time to do that.
2019년
For about 4 years
4월에
ago, I mean in
이
April
대한민국 특히
2019,
서울에
in Korea we
공기가
have
어땠습니까?
what about the
미세먼지 때문에
air we have
숨을 못
due
쉬었죠.
to
우리가
the
그때부터 마스크를
particles
쓰고 다녔습니다. 그
PM
이후에 바로
that we
코로나 팬데믹
the sky
또
was
3년
veiled with
마스크를
a
쓰고
fine
다녔죠.
dust and causing
요즘
breathing
겨우 받고
difficulties.
다닌다면은
And
이러한 데 대해서
due to
우리가
COVID-19, this
반성을
has been
하고
just
앞으로는 이런
suspended.
일이
But
일어나지
thinking about
않도록
the past, when we
하려면은
were suffocated by
종교
this the
지도자
PM and fine
여러분들께서
dust,
좀 더 이
thinking
자연
that we need
환경,
to embark on a
친환경,
groundbreaking endeavor to combat air
기후
pollution.
기후 환경 여기에
So
대해서
we need to think
신경을
about, we need to pay
써주셨으면
attention to the
좋겠습니다.
climate
그러나
environment.
솔직히 말씀드리면 여기
Frankly
정치하시는
speaking,
분도 계십니다만은
there are some people who are
정치하는
also involved in the
분들의
politics.
어떤
So
정치적인 의지
policymakers and
이것이
politicians, their
중요합니다.
willingness to
어떤 대통령도
do
약속을
that
다
is
하고
very
그다음에
important.
안 지키는 것은
So many
자기 당
presidents are kind of make
자기가
promise,
지지하고
but
있는데
they were not able
앞장서고
to take
있습니다. 그거 다 소용없습니다.
meet the
왜냐하면
promise.
기후 위기 때문에
If
사람이 못
only
살고
promises are existing
대한민국이
and there's
살
no
수 없는 땅이 되고
one who
지구가 살 수
also
없는 땅이 되면
meet these
여러분 어디 가서 살 수
promises,
있습니까?
that is
지금
kind of
우리는
waste of money and waste of
산소가
energy.
있고 물이 있는
So
공기가 있는
air,
이런 우주를
water,
발견하지
and
못했습니다.
the
이 지구가
necessities are not
유일한
available
우주다.
in other planet.
아마
The Earth is the only
수천억
places
개가
that we can
있겠죠.
find everything
지금 우주에
for our
별들이
survivor. Yes, there are
그 별 중에 하나가 지구입니다.
millions of the
다행히
stars
물이
in
있고
the universe,
순실
but
공기가
there's
있고
the only one that
자연이
we can
있고
survive is the
우리가
Earth.
아끼지
There's
않으면
air, there's the
누가
nature,
아끼겠습니까?
so that we need to
저는
save
그래서
this.
이
Without the humankind is
정치인들이
the one who saved this
좀
earth.
더
Otherwise, it cannot be
정치력을
saved.
발휘해야 된다.
So I believe that under the circumstances, politicians should take
이
action, and
세
they need
분야가
to
노력을
kind
해야
of
돼요. 정치인,
exercise
비즈니스맨,
their rights, their
그다음에
the
시민.
power. So politician and
사실은
also
비즈니스맨이나 시민은
business
큰
people and
권력을 갖고 있지는
citizens.
않습니다.
These
특히
three actors
시민은
do something.
권력을 갖고
The
있지
business
않죠.
people do
정치인이
not have
권력을 갖고
the
있는데
power.
이
Citizens
권력을
as well,
좀
but
더
politicians
이
have power to
자연
do that.
친화적인
So
기후
politicians
친화적인 데
should
쓰도록
create a policy
여러분께서
that should be
압력을
eco-friendly.
가해
So
주시면
in order to make that
감사하겠습니다.
happen, citizens put pressure on politicians. Please take forward to put pressure
제가
on the
전직
politicians to do that
연사무총장에서 많은
action.
노력을 합니다.
So
전 세계를
I've
다니면서
been
이런
making a
이야기합니다.
lot of efforts and also
어제도
spreading this
하고
message
그저께도
across
하고
the
오늘도
world.
하고 내일도 할 겁니다.
Yesterday and
그러나
the day
제가 힘이 좀
the day before yesterday, and
딸립니다.
also I
솔직히
will do that
말씀드려서
tomorrow and in the
여러분들은
future.
투표권을
But
갖고
sometimes I
있습니다.
think that my efforts is not
여러분들이
enough.
주인입니다.
But I'd
그래서
like to
이
ask your
정치 지도자들이
support. So you
좀
have a
더
power to
힘을
exercise your right. That is
쓰도록
the voting.
특히 종교
So
지도자 여러분 앞에
religious
정치인들이
leaders
사실은 꼼짝을
are the
못합니다.
ones
많은
that
정치인들이
persuade politicians to do
종교를 가지고
something.
있습니다.
Many politicians, they
불교든
also are believers,
원불교든
whether that is a
기독교든
Buddhist
뭐 여러 가지
or the one Buddhist or
여러분들의
Christianity,
그
they
영향력을
are the also
바랍니다.
believers. So
존경하는 원불교
religious
지도자
leaders
여러분,
can exercise
또
their
세계
power
각국에서
to put pressure on the
참여하신 종교
politicians
지도자
who are the
여러분,
believers.
저는 이제 기후
So
변화를
ladies and
비롯한
gentlemen,
인류가 직면하고 있는
we
당장의 위기와
we need
잠재적
to
위험을 극복하기
take
위한
action.
몇 가지
There are several
말씀드리고
ways that
제가
we
연설을
can
끝내겠습니다.
the
첫째는
make
행동입니다. 액션.
we can
우리 다 같이
there are several
행동하시는
things
겁니다.
that I need
여러분이
to
행동을 안
emphasize as a
하시면은요,
strategies to confront
우리
the immediate
지구는
and potential dangers facing humanity, including
소생 불가능한
climate change.
구환자가
First, this
됩니다.
action is something we must undertake
물과
collectively.
초목이 사라진
So,
사막화된 지구에서 여러분 살 수
regardless
있겠습니까?
of these challenges,
경제도
the climate will
복지도
continue to
아무런
deteriorate, and the
없습니다.
planet will become a
지금 이
critically ill
순간에도
patient from which there is
아프리카를
no hope of
비롯한
recovery.
세계 도처에서
Humanity cannot survive on the
수많은
barren
사람들이
earth,
물과 식량이
devoid of
없어서
water and vegetation.
죽어가고
Neither the
있습니다.
economy where no
빙하가
religion can
녹아서
strive.
지금
We have no
상태로
other
가면은
planet to replace Earth. Even now, countless people in
2050년까지
Africa and around the world are suffering from
바닷물이
diseases and hunger
최소
due to water and
60cm에서
food shortages, leading to precious lives
1m까지
lost.
올라간다고 합니다.
So melting
여러분,
glaciers are causing sea
인천
levels to
앞바다,
rise,
이 포항 앞바다, 부산
endangering
앞바다에서
the survival of small island nations in the
넘쳐서
Pacific and Indian Oceans.
시내
These countries
도로에
are not responsible for
찼을
their
때
carbon
이런
emissions.
높은
And also,
빌딩이
this
무슨
has the
소용이
same
있습니까?
thing for Korea.
아래층에서
In an
맥혀버리면
area which is closer to
자동차도 못
sea,
들어오고 전기
if
다
we have
끊어지고
a
아무것도 아무
sea
소용이
level
없습니다.
rise, in that case,
100층짜리
they will be
롯데
submerged.
타워도
And
소용이
100
없다.
story Lotte Tower,
그런
which is the
점을
landmark of the
명심해
Korea,
주시기 바랍니다.
is going to be wasteless, useless
또
if it
이
is
재앙을
submerged.
멈추기 위해서
So in order to
이
stop
한 가지 중요한 것은
this
기후 정의,
catastrophe,
climate justice
we need to also
라고 합니다.
have a climate justice.
climate
This is a kind of
현상은 왜
the just
일어나느냐? 이
transition.
대한민국 같이 미국, 중국,
So like the
일본, 영국
Korea,
이런 그
US,
선진국들이
UK,
산업화라는
and
명분에
Japan, those
많은
advanced countries
이산화탄소를
emit the
하늘로
carbon
올려보냈기
dioxide
때문입니다.
in the
여러분
name of the
우리나라는
industrial
G7에
revolution.
속하지 못합니다.
Korea is not under the G7
그러나
categories, but
CO2
CO2 wise, CO2 emission wise,
발생량을 보면
carbon emission
우리가
wise,
G7입니다.
Korea is one of the
이거는
G7
참
countries.
수치스러운
I feel
아주
really
shameful
shameful.
G7이죠.
G7, I guess.
여기에서 벗어나야 됩니다.
So we need to
이거는
get out of this kind
저
of club.
끝으로 갈수록 좋은 겁니다.
So it's better to
경제는
the
G7
edge.
되고
So
이 기후는
G7 in economy, but not
그린하우스
in
가스
G7 in the
에미션은
greenhouse gas
적게.
emission. So we need to
그런
reduce
의미에서
the greenhouse gas
2050년까지
emissions.
네트
In
제로를
terms,
하는데
from the
여러분들이
perspective, by
선한
2050, we need to
영향력을
achieve the
행사해
net
주시기를
zero. And then
바랍니다.
I'd like
여러분
you
아마 많이 들었을
you
겁니다.
to exercise your
그레타
power
툰베리
to make that
라는
happen.
스웨덴의 소녀 있죠.
So you know that the
제가
Swedish
2019년인가 20년에
girl,
유엔의 전직 사무총장 가서
she has
그레타
also
툰베리라는
Greta
그
Thunberg,
16살 먹은
this 16 years
소녀가
old
그
girl.
대통령들, 총리들, 대사들
This
앉아 있는 데서
she also used her
아주
positive influence to move hearts and impact
화난
political
목소리를
leaders.
얘기해요. 화는
So she
내가
kind of
여러분들을
did speech to
절대
the world
용서하지 않을
leaders,
것이다.
saying that act like
여러분들이
your house
잘못해서
is on fire.
우리
It
세대가
resonated deeply within
고생을 하고
human
있다.
society.
그러니까 기후 액션을 취하라.
So we need to
진짜
take a
제가
climate action.
소름이 끼쳤습니다.
I was really
이런 점을
thrilled and
더
also
말씀을 드리고
excited
두
when I
번째
heard her
행동하시고
words.
세계
So
시민으로
second task
행동을
I
해줬으면
propose today
좋겠다.
is that the theme of our discussion,
우리는
global
여기
citizenship.
대부분 자랑스러운
So
대한민국
we
자랑스럽죠.
all feel that
또 여기 여러 나라에서
we
오신
are
분
the proud
자기
citizen of
조국이
the Korea.
자랑스러울 겁니다.
Also, and others
자기 조국
from
헌재
other
잘
countries,
돼서
they are also
안
proud citizens
됩니다.
of their
우리는
countries.
세계인입니다.
But you should
글로벌
get
시티즌,
away from that. We need to be a proud global citizenship. Global
세계
citizenship is the
시민
key to
세계
addressing humanity's
시민으로서
shared challenges
기후
and
변화에
progressing toward a
앞장을
brighter
섭니다.
future. We
따라서
need to
종교계가
take the front
세계 시민 정신을
seat
드높이고
in achieving
자국
the
이기주의와
overcoming the climate change and
포퓰리즘을
climate crisis.
떨쳐내고
We need to get out of the
지도자들이
populism,
포용,
and then we need to
그다음에
also
배려,
think that global citizens is
그걸
someone who promotes
해주시면
more peaceful,
좋겠습니다.
inclusive,
제가
secure, and
이런
sustainable
이야기합니다.
societies across borders, social
패션.
and linguistic
모든
barriers.
사람은
Thus,
패션이 있어.
global citizenship embodies a spirit
이
of solidarity,
패션이
cooperation, and advocacy for
컴패션을
what is
가지지
right.
않으면은
Everybody has their own
이거는 나쁜
passion.
데로 갑니다.
Otherwise, they will take a wrong road.
자기 욕망만
So
있으면
if you just
어디로
fulfill
가는지
your
모르고
desire,
필경
there is
나쁜 데로
no
갑니다.
direction and
이 패션과
road you feel
컴패션이
that it is a good.
같이
So
있어야
passion and
우리
also the
지구가
value
잘 살고
go
있고
hand in hand
세계
together
인류가
so that we
잘
can
살 수
have
있다.
a better
이런 점을
and brighter
말씀을
future
드립니다.
together
특히
for the
여러분은
humanity.
종교 지도자입니다.
In particular, religious leaders
감사하는
should
마음,
take a role.
겸손,
The sense of the
관용,
gratitude and humble
이
attitude
정신이
and also forgiveness.
우리 사회에서
Those
점점
kind of
사라지고
spirits
있습니다.
are now disappearing in our
염치와
society.
명예는 가볍게
So
여기고
you need to
권리만
lightly
주장하는
consider the
사회가
honor and unhumble.
가중의 왕래하는
Rather, you
거리에서
just emphasize
불특정 다수를 향한
these
이유 없는 폭력,
selfishness.
모방 범죄가
So there are
일어나고
the
있습니다.
kind of
이런
the
것도
spirit of gratitude, humanity, and
종교
generosity is
지도자로서
waning. We are becoming a
여러분들의
society where
신부에게
shame and honor are undervalued,
호소하고
while claims to
가르쳐
rights are
주시기를
overemphasized.
당부드립니다.
And also the
그런 면에서는
incidents of violence, killings,
교육이 또
and senseless
중요하다.
crimes are occurring
그래서 제가
against unsuspecting
지난
individuals on
목요일
busy streets.
청주에서 초등학교 교장 선생님
Last Thursday,
4,500명이 모였습니다.
4,500
저는 초등학교가 그렇게
the
많은지도
principals
몰랐습니다.
in the primary school
초등학교가
gathered
6,200개
together.
있다고 합니다.
So
그중에
there are
4,500명의
6,200
교장 선생님이
primary
모여서
schools, but
제가
out of them,
이 학생들에게
4,200
기후
principals
환경에 대한
of that schools gathered
가르쳐라.
together, and
또
then
덕목,
they
인성을 가르쳐라 이렇게
also
얘기했는데 그것이 바로
gather their
인성 이런 덕목을
determination
가르치는 것을
to
종교
promote
지도자
the
여러분들께서
all-round
하실
personality
일이다.
for
이런
the
점을
school
제가
children.
말씀을
So
드립니다.
religious leaders is the
이
same.
시민
We need to
모두가
emphasize that the
인성
global
교육의
citizenship and
대상이
the
됩니다.
all-round
정부,
character
지자체,
education is very
학교,
important. So
이
government, local
주체적 역할을
administrations,
하겠지만
education institutions should
원불교를
take the lead.
위시한 종교
Yet, if
단체가
religious organizations
발벗고
like One Buddhism
나서신다면은
step forward,
종교의
their impact
선한
will be
영향력과
immeasurable
결부돼서
due to the positive
효과가
influence of religion
그야말로
in the character
상상할 수 없을
education.
만큼
I
큰
believe the
효과를
impact will be
가져올 것이다.
beyond our
저는 다시
imagination.
한번
So once
종교의
again,
힘,
I would like to
종교의
reiterate
역할이
the
그
power
어느
and the role
때보다도
of
절실하다는
religion are
것을
more urgent than ever.
절감하고 있습니다. 여러분이 자유와
We
양심의 수호자가
must
되고
implore
진리를
we
위한
need to be
튼튼한
serving as a
공간을
guardians of
만들어
the liberty and
주시기를
conscience
요청합니다.
and to establish
우리 사회에
resilient
만연해 있는
spaces for truth. I
냉소와
urge you
차별,
to spearhead the
폭력을
eradication
비롯한
of prevailing
사회 악을
social
추방하는데
vices such as
앞장서시기를
cynicism,
간절히
discrimination, and violence in
부탁드립니다.
our society.
자유와 민주주의는
Let us
거저
recognize that
주어지는 것이
freedom and
아니며
democracy are
우리
not given
모두가
freely,
힘을 합쳐서
and that we must all
지켜나가는
unite to
것임을
safeguard
주지시키고
the freedom and
여러분의
democracy.
영향력을
So your
활용해 주시기
influences
바랍니다.
should be
세계
utilized to
시민
safeguard
정신의
our freedom and
사명을 통해서
democracy. It
지속
is my
가능한
heartfelt
미래를 위한
wish that this competition,
종교의
which
역할을
delves into the role of
새겨배울
religion
이번 대회가
in fostering a sustainable,
인류의
it is my
공존,
heartfelt wish that
공영을
these
열어가는
conferences,
큰
which delves into
계기가
the role of
되기를
religion in fostering a
간절히
sustainable future
기원합니다.
through the
감사합니다.
cultivation of global citizenship will act as a significant opportunity to pave the way for coexistence and shared prosperity among humanity. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you to His Excellency Mr. Pan Ki-moon for that powerful keynote address. Really encouraging us to take action, not just with passion, but with compassion. So His Excellency has a string of events. He has to attend another important event right after this. So although he wants to stay until the end, he has to leave early. Let us give him another round of applause. So hoping for global peace through the unity and collaboration of different faiths, we are pleased to present the song Prayer for Peace, performed by the Mannam Quarter, representing the 4 primary religions of South Korea. Representing Buddhism, we have Venerable Seongjin. From the Protestant tradition, Reverend Kim Jin. Catholicism, we have Father Ha Song-yong. And representing Won Buddhism, Reverend Park Seung. So please welcome them to the stage with a big round of applause.
내가 가는 길이 험하고 멀지라도 그대 함께 간다면 좋겠네.
우리 가는 길에 아침 햇살 비치면 행복하다고 말해주겠네. 이리저리 둘러봐도 제일 좋은 건 그대와 함께 있는 것. 그대 내게 행복을 주는 사람. 내가 가는 길이 험하고 멀지라도 그대 내게 행복을 주는 사람. 그대 내게 행복을 주는 사람. 내가 가는 길이 험하고 멀지라도 그대 내게 행복을 주는 사람. 그대
때론 외롭고 외로운 길이라도 그대 함께 간다면 좋겠네. 때론 즐거움에 웃음 짓는 나날이어서 행복하다고 말해주겠네.
이리저리 둘러봐도 제일 좋은 건 그대와 함께 있는 것. 그대 내게 행복을 주는 사람. 내가 가는 길이 험하고 멀지라도 그대 내게 행복을 주는 사람. 그대 내게 행복을 주는 사람. 내가 가는 길이 험하고 멀지라도 그대 내게 행복을 주는 사람. 그대 내게 행복을 주는 사람. 내가 가는 길이 험하고 멀지라도 그대 내게 행복을 주는
다음 곡이 준비되어 있습니다.
처음인데요, 저희가. There's a breath in your heart, and I know that it is love, and this breath could be much brighter than tomorrow. And if you really try, you'll find there's only to cry. In this prayer, you feel there's no heart or sorrow. There are ways to get there if you care enough for the living. Make a little space, make a better place. Heal the world, make it a better place for you and for me and the entire human race. There are people dying. If you care enough for the living, make a better place for you and for me.
If you want to know why, there's a love that cannot lie. Love is strong, it only cares for joyful giving. If we try, we shall see. In this place we cannot feel. Feel what dread, we stop existing and start living.
And it will the way, love enough for growing. Make a better world, make a better world. Heal the world, make it better place for you and for me and the entire human race. There are people dying. If you care enough for the living, make a better place for you and for me. Heal the world, make it a better place for you and for me and the entire human race. There are people dying. If you care enough for the living, make a better place for you and for me. There are people dying. If you care enough for the living, make a better place for you and for me.
만찬 때 뵙겠습니다.
Woohoo!
Irish
Another
again
encore?
at the dinner session.
I love how they knew they were getting an encore. Beautiful. So, can you believe it? This is the end of today's ceremony. So, I want to say that after this, we're going to be taking a group photo, and I'm just going to ask you just to please stay seated because they're going to take a picture from here. So, don't go anywhere. And just one more announcement. Tomorrow's Iccgc event will take place at the Mondrian Itaewon Hotel. So if you've pre-registered, just kindly arrive and be seated 10 minutes prior to the 9 a.m. start time. For those who weren't able to pre-register, the event will be available for streaming online. For details on how to view, please refer to the Iccgc website. Okay, so thank you for joining us today. Please stay for our group photo.